What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 213. I am your host, Ainsley Bowden, as always, joined this week by Mr. Seven himself, Mr. Rodriguez, looking confused, my friend.
No, I had a question. So when we go and you launch the intro, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see what we're doing? Or does it just go blank on your screen?
No.
If I were to take my
the
shirt
intro
off
shows
and
on ours too.
Okay.
Yeah, don't
right.
do that. I don't trust you'll get it back on in time.
You're probably right. I don't move like I used to. So yeah. All right, good then. In that case, I'm ready to go. Let's
Good morning.
Yeah.
Mr. Host of Virtual Legality himself, Mr. Hogue in the house.
Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday. It's Bitcast time. We're excited. I'm happy to be here. Let's have fun.
That was very cut and definitive in each statement there.
Actually, I was YouTube cutting those clips right then live. You just didn't realize it.
And our tie-ridden friend is off on an adventure today, which we can't speak about at the moment, but we will share details on that in the near future. Someday we will have him share that in full. But filling his place is the Bitcast regular. You know him well, host of the Backlog Chronicles, my man, Docta Moe. Good morning, dude.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? Thank you for having me on. I don't know if I can fill in Travis's what was the word I'm looking for?
Coming in very very white right now.
Yeah, I liked it. It was like it's the witching hour, folks.
Yeah.
That means it's time for song.
I don't know if I can fill Travis's shoes on this show, but I will definitely try.
Hogue,
I can tell you're not going to get any pushback from me today. So
you just say
We will not be using the
ridiculous
verses.
things, and we get through it together. It's all right.
Yeah. You just when Hogue makes a point, you counter it. I throw this up, and you just stick with it. You know what I mean? That's it.
You just say the opposite of me, no matter how ridiculous. It's fine. You get the whole Travis thing.
Def says you have a big tie to fill. I like that. All right, guys. So today we're going to be talking about the report on Rockstar and Grand Theft Auto 6, which made big news this week. We're going to be talking about the financial results of Xbox and PlayStation. We got not first quarter. We got fiscal results from each for different quarters. We've got PS VR2 news. We've got Knights of the Old Republic remake news, I guess you could call it.
Do we have news?
And we're going to be talking about Xenoblade and obviously what we're playing. So before we get to that real quick, just want to shout out that I believe on Friday night or yesterday morning, sometime we crossed 13,000 subs. Woo! Thank you very much. The sub train continues. Love to see it. Appreciate all the support. And it's great, man. It's great to see you guys consistently showing up. So thank you so much for that. Obviously, if you watch this, you enjoy hanging out with us and you're not subbed, please do us a favor and check us out. And yeah, man, lots of cool content on the way. A lot of new videos coming as well. Me and Mo currently are inundated with statues. So a bunch of those things coming, but a lot of new stuff on the way too. So thank you. That's all I wanted to say on that. So why don't we go ahead and start with what we're currently playing? And Hogue, I'm going to kick it to you right away because we had a huge release this week. A lot of people on my timeline talking about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Travis, funny enough, has been talking about it for 3 weeks under embargo as much as he could. And the week that his review's out and he can talk about it fully, he's not here. So you can fill in for Travis and you don't even have to worry about getting pushback from the tie guy himself.
I can fill in for Travis. I can also mention that Travis was nice enough on the day his review came out to actually come over on my channel and chat about his review for about an hour. So if you are interested in at least some of his thoughts, we didn't go into spoilers because we'll never go into spoilers until we have like a spoiler cast or something. And that'll be 3 years from now when I get far enough along in the story. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is excellent. I said when we were talking, Travis and I, that it was his neuroses that really popped out of that article, which is fine. But because he's a good writer and a talented reviewer, you can tell when something he says is going to matter to you and when it's not going to matter to you. And as a big time fan of JRPGs, everything Travis said pretty much didn't bother me one bit. And so I've played for about a dozen hours Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and it is great. It is great. It is a little bit hand-holdy insofar as when you start out this game, you will think it has the world's simplest battle system ever. because this game really holds back on not just like grayed out options, but like the menu is not at all what it will be in the next hour and the next hour and the next hour. And so, you know, I'm 12 or 13 hours in. I just got another, like, now you have this menu option and here's another system. And here's this menu option and here's another system. So as far as that goes, I'm playing on hard. It's actually a little bit harder than I think it will ultimately be when you can actually have flexibility to do various things. Because right now, playing in hard in the early hours of Xenoblade is effectively slamming your head against the wall and trying to figure out how to get past things. I have died more often than I have in prior games, which is fun to me. I like to figure out what I'm doing. And then the plot line is wild. The plot line is very odd in terms of the world that is set up, which in the first half hour, you find out everybody is effectively child soldiers that only have 10 years to live and that they only live to fight, and that there appears to be more going on behind the scenes. And we'll leave it at that. But it is a wonderful game. It gives you everything that you want in terms of vistas. Travis undersold the music. The music is rad. Has a lot of adventuresome songs and a lot of stuff to get you invested in the environment. I will say, if you didn't like Xenoblade Chronicles before now, this is 80% Xenoblade Chronicles as you know it. So it's not going to change minds, I don't think. But it does have some quality of life upgrades, and it does have more robust fighting concepts. It has a job system where you're exchanging classes and cross-class building and min-maxing on that kind of score. It doesn't have equipment, so that's, that takes away. You giveth, you taketh away in terms of what you're doing with respect to building up your people. But overall, if you like Xenoblade Chronicles, this one is not going to let you down. I don't know where the story goes, but in terms of how it feels to play, how it looks, how it presents, the options in battle, ultimately, after you get past a little bit, certainly Chapter 1, does feel like the culmination of what the series is and can be. So it does feel like the best. Obviously, a JRPG is very dependent on what it does with its story. And I have at least a few concerns at the top, but we'll see exactly what they wind up doing with the things I'm concerned about. And those concerns aren't like systemic. They're more like, how goofy are we planning to go?
Did I hear you right that you said there's no equipment? You don't equip armor or weapons or anything on your characters?
Yeah, well, so no equipment is probably a little strong for what I have ultimately been given, like in hour 13. But certainly for the first 10 hours that you play, there's virtually nothing to equip on your characters. And even what I have, it looks like they have gotten rid of the concept of armor and weaponry and that kind of thing. It's reduced to an accessory slot, like one accessory slot, and then promises that there will be more accessory slots when you go up in level. So I think the next accessory slot is level 20. Like I said, I'm like 13 hours in and I'm level 15, give or take. So it's never going to be too terribly crunchy on that side of things. I don't believe.
It was so, yeah, it sounds, as crazy as it sounds with 13 hours of play, it sounds like you're just scratching the surface, which Travis made very clear to us.
Yeah. I'm in chapter 2 out of whatever. I think Travis says it goes to 15 or something like that. But I'm in chapter 2. It is possible, like any Xenoblade game, to wander more or less.
Sure.
You can run past things in a Xenoblade game if you're so inclined. Sometimes you just say, I just want to hit the next story beat. For people that don't like cutscenes, these are Hideo Kojima-esque in terms of length. They have a lot of great choreography, a lot of fun, but you're watching, a 10 or 15 minute anime episode every once in a while. So it aims out, but that's a lot of fun for those of us that like those kinds of things. And it's very melodramatic, right? So it's hitting to me the beats of the glory days of Final Fantasy, not the Devil May Cry days. And it does feels like those older games. In fact, this is going to really bug some people. I almost tweeted this out and decided not to. It has a lot of Final Fantasy 13 DNA. in terms of its plot structure and what the early impetus is. So if you hated Final Fantasy 13 because of the story it told, you might be in a little bit of trouble. If you hated it for other reasons, those aren't shared. It's not the same kind of game. But as somebody that has played a lot of Final Fantasy, it's like, oh, it's like a 13-15 mashup is what they built here. So that's interesting.
It was yeah, so in terms of length, it was quite funny actually, because Travis had been telling us like the game never ends, like it just keeps going. ACG, very popular reviewer, obviously came out. He said he put 70 or 90 hours into it, and he did an impressions video. And I'm like, good Lord, this game is massive. But sounds like a lot of people are enjoying it. This is a perfect example of something I tweeted out or shared on Twitter the other day, which is this game is not for me. I'm not gonna trash the game, but everything that you have said, top to bottom, and that Travis has talked to us about, doesn't resonate with me personally, which is fine. That's great. It's great that people are enjoying it. It got reviewed very well. High scores.
It's got really nice world building. It clearly has some setup stuff, and more than most JRPGs, it has a cast that seems to be human beings and that you're interested in knowing more about and watching them grow. They do not start out as friendship Care Bears. And that's nice to see, because there's a lot of friction in the party, and you're working through some of those things in the context of the world building and then the plot. And like, that's good layered storytelling, the kind that we don't always see in these types of games. Like, I love Tales to death. Tales is really superficial. Right, the Tales series, even Tales of Arise, which is maybe a little less superficial than some of their others, is just very much, you get what you pay for. Here it is, and this one is a little bit better at like, no, we certain aspects of the team hate each other, and we're working through a major life event. We'll say that.
Okay, all right. Well, there you go. So, Mo, I assume you probably bought 3 copies of this, but aren't going to play it, right?
No. I did get the I don't know, man. Yeah, that collector's edition. Everybody was going nuts for it. Remember, you and I were kind of like talking about it, and I'm like, no, I'm not. It's stupid. What do I want it for?
What was in the collector's?
Everybody's like, it's gonna be hard to get. It's gonna be hard to get. Nintendo.
Well, Nintendo did a Nintendo thing where they only sold it at certain times on their site. The site crashed naturally, so it became very hard to get. It is. Remind me what's in it.
It has a steelbook. That's all I care about.
I think it's a very traditional Hogue, like steelbook, art book.
Yeah, that's it. Steelbook, art book, and obviously game.
All right, not Thor's hammer or
no,
whatever.
No, nothing extravagant like that.
No, we have that coming too. Mo is my. If you didn't know, Hogue, Mo is my. We're the 2 degenerates that pretty much buy every collectible there is. So
cheers.
You got the Halo mug. I think I see an Elden Ring poster back there.
Oh yeah.
There's the one right next to it is Horolu.
He does.
Oh yeah, I don't mess around, man.
One of the late bosses in Elden Ring.
Right.
Well, hey, no, I will represent for JRPGs then, if that's the way this constituted itself. But this is a good one. So if you like the genre at all, it's a good one. And this is probably, I said to my wife, as I declared Xenoblade Day and took off early on Friday, this is probably my biggest release day of the year. Just how things are shaking out. Okay. Like this is what I'm most likely to be excited about and enjoy out of anything.
That's awesome.
Over God of War. Assuming it releases, I'll give you
easily over God of War. And this is not me slamming anything.
Yeah. That's just it's your cup of tea, man.
Easily over God of War.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's your cup
you
of
should
tea.
really stop slamming stuff, though, Hogue.
This is what I'm saying. It's like, I'm going to buy God of War. I'm going to enjoy God of War. I'm a little worried.
Talking shit, Hogue. God damn.
Hogue hates everything. I don't know if you heard that, everyone, but he hates everything.
I just don't as easily throw my love at something as some of you.
No, that's good though, man.
Love is earned, not expected.
It's variety.
I would love for God of War Ragnarok to be awesome, and I love every minute of it. I will buy it. I will play it. This was the one I was more excited about, and it has delivered so far.
Yeah, definitely, man.
That's good.
That's awesome. I heard it. The only comment I want to make is regarding that. I heard the performance is pretty bad.
So I had heard that Travis had complained about it a little bit. I will say, at least for my setup, distance from TV, size of TV, whatever, it seems to perform better, I would argue, than Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But there might be areas, right? Like I'm in chapter 2. I've been through 3 or 4 areas. There might be areas that have, who knows, flickering lightning bugs and giant waterfalls. Like I don't think they were constrained by the hardware in terms of what they decided to put in there. So there could be one that just falls apart. As of right now, I have no issues with the performance, but they definitely were more ambitious. It's a 6-person team, so it's just anime characters yelling out their attacks, all constantly. Travis and I joked in the private chat where they give call outs at the end of a fight between the team members, and I think there's like, I don't know, 2 per person. So 13 hours in, you're already like, oh. Lands would like that battle to be a bit meatier. And I think I've probably heard it 40 times.
Oh boy.
You're not done
we as much as we joked about Aloy and Forbidden West's problem with that, it's like don't you have to imagine developers who are coding this play their own game, and how are they not playing it and realizing, hey, our character has said that 384
I bet
times.
It gets
that might be a
bit
much.
Because Chronicles 2 has a turn off those statements. So I don't. It's not in Chronicles 3 right now, but it wouldn't surprise me if it gets passed.
I'm sure that
they just ran out of money. It's like, listen, we can only pay you to say this one thing 50 times. So this is all we can afford.
It's funny because Xenoblade is British people because of a whole host of things when it got originally brought over from Japan. So the Xenoblade Chronicles series has become basically only British. And then there's like one of the characters is given an American accent. It's like the weirdest thing because everybody is talking either really posh British or like, thanks governor type British. And then there's like this one lady talking American, and like you just get used to hearing the British. Is like, oh, that sounds really weird. This must be what it's like for them. That lady sounds like she doesn't know how to speak. It is. Then you realize like, why does she sound that weird? Oh, that's an American accent. Damn.
When I visit my family in England, they actually, how we're very fascinated typically by accents, and like, we hear an English person say some slang, we're like, oh, that's funny. Well, yeah, I go over there and I say something and they ask me to keep saying it and repeat it because they find it hilarious.
Yeah.
So same thing.
I don't doubt it.
Oh yeah. Well, regarding the performance, at least Walt is saying he hasn't noticed anything bad either. So that's good.
It's very smooth. It's very smooth off the top. I mean, I'm never going to be as sensitive as some to it. It is always, for the last 2 iterations at least, and the definitive edition used what I would call aggressive resolution dynamism. So it holds that smoothness at the expense of like your screen dissolving into dust. I haven't noted that in my playthrough, so it hasn't affected my enjoyment. But it wouldn't surprise me if you went back and said, "Oh, during this fight against this dinosaur, do you see how it's just like voxel dots?"
Right.
It's like, I would believe it, but it has not impacted me at all.
That's good.
Cool. All right, guys. So that's Xenoblade. I want to touch real quick on an old game you might have heard of called PUBG. That's all. I've played a lot of that this week. So if you weren't aware, PUBG had an update last week. That finally updated the game for Series X, S, and PS5. So it's 4K 60 now, locked. And they added a new map named Destin, which is, in my opinion, an incredible map. Might be the best one. It's one of the huge maps, 8 kilometers by 8 kilometers. So it feels like the original PUBG map where you're in this huge open world, basically. So it's like a looter shooter in a huge open world. And just been playing a lot of it. And it's such a vast improvement over what that experience was like even a year or 2 ago, never mind at launch. We won't even touch on. Yeah, it's just so much fun, and it's still, in my opinion, such a unique experience. It's so different from Apex or Fortnite or anything. So if it's just got this, it gives you this feeling that you don't get out of other battle royale games, which is a little more serious, a little more weighted, a little more kind of movements and tactics matter a little more, So if you enjoy that type of thing and you haven't checked out either PUBG ever or you played it a few years ago and it was terrible at the time, even though I still loved it. It played really poorly. It's a vast improvement nowadays. I would encourage you to check it out. So,
and
there's still a lot of people playing.
A lot.
Yeah, shockingly. No problems finding matches. So it has crossplay on or off. I will tell you on console, unlike say Halo, where it's got full crossplay and people on controllers generally are better than keyboard and mouse in Halo. In PUBG, there's a distinct advantage for high-level PC players, just because of how precise and like a mouse gives you way better precision. So with crossplay on, you will run into a lot of high-level, very good players. If you turn it off, matchmaking takes a little longer. It may take a minute or two to get into a match. And they do, if you're not playing ranked, they have unranked and ranked. Unranked does fill with bots, just like Fortnite. I know some other games do that as well. But generally speaking, yeah, no problem finding a match. The matches are full. Really good time.
Oh yeah,
so,
that is awesome.
So yeah, it's cool, man. I love PUBG, so it's nice to be back on.
Yeah, you and Pampa have been trying to get me to. I PUBG. I look at it like I look at Destiny. Obviously, they're completely different games, but I'm saying like I feel like I'm so far behind that if I jump in now, I will have like about at least like a 6 months worth of just crap to learn.
Yeah.
Where to go, what to do. I'm like, no.
The only nice thing about
for me,
like Destiny, and I jumped in randomly to Warframe this weekend, which I had fun with for the couple hours I played it, but have no idea what's going on. Zero. I mean, I don't have a clue. And I think they're pretty similar because there's so much world building in Warframe and Destiny that has occurred over years that it's tough. PUBG, it's mechanics, right? It'll take you a while to learn the guns, the ammo types, ranges. There's bullet drop. There's zero aim assist or magnetism, so you have to be very precise. It's a different type of game. But once you do get into it, it's an experience that, honestly, especially on console, I don't think it's really matched. I know people on PC play Tarkov a lot and kind of compare those, but yeah, on console, PUBG is pretty unique. So
I think they're gonna have that type of mode in the new Modern Warfare. That's at least what's being said. There's gonna be an escape from Tarkov type of mode in Modern
Warzone 2.
I don't know if it's gonna be, because I don't know. It's a little bit off topic. Warzone is gonna be like its own suite, and then I think this one is going to be included in the multiplayer suite with the game if you buy it.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? Even though like they merge them, in the same menu when you launch the game. Warzone is merged there, but still Warzone is going to be free.
Yeah,
but I don't know if this one is going to be free. I think this one might be included in the actual multiplayer offering with the game itself if you purchase it. So I've never played Escape from Tarkov. I think that concept is awesome, and I would love to try it out. Something that's at least more tailored for consoles. So
yeah. Well, cool. What have you been playing, Mo? Anything you want to call out?
I haven't been playing much, man. I'll just tell everybody if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know my current fascination with the Steam Deck and its emulation. It's unbelievable. It's amazing. I've been balls deep into the emulation aspect of the Steam Deck. The machine itself, it runs great, right? Like for what it does, for the games and whatnot. You download deck verified games or games that are playable, it's gonna run them great. It does a very good job of optimizing, like auto optimization as well, depending on the proton that you download. But the emulation is fantastic, man. It's a very, very deep. I want to thank, who I got to thank for that? Bobby Pascalides. He's the one that just kind of like planted that before I even received it. He's like, hey man, the emulation on this thing is awesome. I'm like, okay. So yeah, I got GameCube games running, man. I got Metroid Prime in my hands. I'm playing Wind Waker. I'm playing Beautiful Joe, and I'm like, you know what? I'm saying things in my head to Nintendo that I would rather not say on this show live right now, in my head, just because of the ways that they've deprived us of these experiences that we've been asking, right? I mean, it's fantastic. Xbox, that is still a work in progress. There's some games that work and some games that don't, but some games are working fantastic. The PS3 emulator is excellent. Those guys, they did a better job of emulating PS3 games, it seems like, than Sony did for their own games, unfortunately. Yeah, so those are great. Everything, and then obviously the retro stuff. But I've just been fascinated with it. So that's kind of like, and then if I'm not doing that, when I'm not doing that, I played some Stray. I'm a couple hours into it. I know the game's not very long either, but I like it. It's cool, man. It's got a nice vibe. It's I know, Dan, you just said there's really not much to it, and there isn't. But I think the whole concept is just a sentient being, which is a cat. I don't want to. It's not a spoiler, but it's just the cat really is the only thing that's alive. If you really think about it, right? That's the only sentient thing in the game. From when you're outside until you get to the main area of the game that you take control of. And I think the whole concept of, sheltering from humanity and whatever, there is a layer to this story that's really, it's nice. It's a cute story. Obviously the gameplay itself is not very deep. You're not playing Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter here. There's only jump, meow, scratch. But it all comes together cohesively, and if you want a laid back game, I think I honestly think it's pretty cool. What else? That's it.
It definitely runs well.
It does run well. It does run well. It's optimized very well. And then and then there's Halo. All roads always lead to Halo when I don't know what else to play, so always go back to Infinite. But yeah, that's about it for me, man.
And Rio Radek asked about Multiverses too. So Multiverses has made big waves this week.
Mm-hmm.
They get hit like 140,000 concurrent or something, or players on Steam. So a lot of people checking it out. It seems to be. I only have 20 minutes in it, maybe, so I can't speak too well on it. But it seems to be a lot of people saying that it's the first game that really feels very smooth and balanced and fun. In the kind of Smash Brothers vein, where other titles, Nickelodeon, have attempted to do that and not done so well.
I popped in. I think everybody popped in. That's one of those things where I want to follow the stats. Free to play game with a weird premise or at least something that's interesting to people. I think a lot of people want to pop in. So I checked it out. I played 5 games maybe. I think that it could work. It feels unfinished. I know it's beta, but I thought it would feel more finished because I figured it was a Fortnite type beta.
4-year beta.
Yeah. Well, beta meaning we don't apologize for bugs, but otherwise this is our product. Please pay us. That kind of beta. And I think it's fine. I think it lacks some of the punchiness of a Super Smash Brothers. Musically, it's super weird. Like the title screen is like really, really chill. And like that just jumps out at you as this is not. You think of Super Smash Brothers, you think of that damn theme song that if I hummed right now would be in our heads for the rest of the day. And it might have just done it just by mentioning it. And this is kind of different than that. I think the monetization seems pretty pushy. It is a free to play game. It's not a purchase game. So you have to take that into account. But
funny enough, Hogue, on that point, it's doing a rotation like MOBAs do. So MOBAs, if you're familiar, like Smite or League, where every week they're going to allow free players to use a few different characters. That's what. But
this is where, like I say, unfinished. It's like their UI doesn't do a great job of distinguishing like who you own and who's on your rotation at all. And so and then you can't buy. It didn't look to me like you can't buy the characters that are currently on your rotation, because where the button is doesn't exist in the current UI. I could be wrong on all these things. But when I went to this is what I do, right? I say I jumped in. The very first thing I did is go through all of your menus and see exactly how you framed out your economy and things, because that's me. I'm, economics degree, folks. And so I go through all that. And then it's like, all right, teach me the tutorial. All right, you've got these dailies. All right, I see how this works. This is you're intending to go through this. You've got stuff that is cash money only, but you don't separate out that market. I think Fortnite does such a great job of kind of having the battle pass over there and then the store is over here. And instead, this one feels a little bit worse because it's like, well, do you want to look at all different? Then that one's just whatever it is. The rainbow rocks. And And then their main mode is 2v2, which is great. I mean, that's really interesting as kind of a main mode to have. But one of the things it does do to the art is, and again, this is useful for gameplay, is it colors you all red and blue. And that does take away from some of the zaniness of that's an outline. Arya Stark and that's Bugs Bunny or whatever. It's like, well, you're red and blue blobs. You don't have some of that artistic stuff. So there are things that I wouldn't do with it. I also I'm just not impressed by WB's stable of intellectual property. So I really don't care about that Adventure Time thing versus LeBron James. It's like, whatever, man. This feels like the discount rack at the Blockbuster.
They own so much stuff, though. Couldn't they just bring anything?
They can. They're bringing Game of Thrones. They're bringing Mortal Kombat. They're bringing I don't know what else, Brand. They own a ton of stuff, but
and it depends on what their contract said, right? Because you could, who owns Neo? What does that contract look like between the studio and the parties? Who owns the derivative work rights? I'm going to go lawyer here. So it's like, the obvious ones are you drag in Neo, you drag in some, the Joker, some Batman villains. You do some of that kind of stuff. Those are a little bit more expected. I get more excited. I got more excited in Smash Brothers about the people that aren't obvious fits. Like, I love Minecraft, dude. Like, that guy was hard to figure out. How do you fight Smash Brothers with Minecraft guy? And so the ones that are more like that, I love
Steve, by the way.
Velma like collects evidence from you. Like as you fight in Multiverses, I was like, there, I need that, more of that. I want some weirdness in there. To me, it's a curiosity, and we'll see if it lasts longer than that, but I don't know that it will.
All right.
Yeah. I had
there goes Hoke hating everything again. We tried to tell you.
I thought it was just Travis, man. Damn, Hoke.
I don't hate it. I really don't. I went in, I downloaded it. It'll stay on my system for a month or whatever. We'll see what we do with it. I didn't hate it. It's not like it offended me or anything.
Oh no, I'm joking with you.
Yeah. Like, it seems to be really smooth playing it online, which is like number one goal.
Sure.
They own Free Willy, it looks like, over here. And
you're going to bring Free Willy in? Have a whale.
The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. You could, fight against pants.
Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. I haven't heard of that.
And if you're really into it, you're going to be broke as hell as soon as they start bringing
it. Yeah. Look at Real Radic over here. He said Ted Lasso was in the leaks for Multiverses. Yes. I did hear that. That's right.
Yeah. And maybe Roy Kent. But I'm a big Ted Lasso guy, so
again, it's like, I don't know. You know how we have like AAA celebrities and we have AAA IP or whatever. It just feels like it's whatever we can go find from the vault. Ted Lasso, really?
Yeah, but the thing is this is gonna be. But right now, in terms of competition to Smash, this is really the best that there is. Right? Look, man, Ains will tell you, I was really excited for Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. Okay,
he owes me a refund, by the way.
I owe him a video game. Actually, I owe him a game because I convinced him and I think a couple other people to buy it first. I don't know, but mechanically it wasn't bad, Ains. It was just the game was just dead. There wasn't a lot of characters, there wasn't a lot of modes. The online too. They kept talking about the rollback netcode, which was a complete piece of shit launch. I'm sorry, but that was pretty bad. That was and they have apparently fixed it since then. But if you lose your audience in the beginning, you're kind of screwed, and that's what. But this game, I played the alpha, and I played it with Jordan and a few other guys, and it was pretty fun, man. It was it's mechanically it's very sound. It is fun. There's different it's strategic as well, depending on some of the different characters that you pick. Like some of them are. There's some support characters too, I don't know what the hell they're. I don't know what it's called. It's like this big dog with like a heart on its head.
I have no rain dog.
That's what it is. Yeah. So that's one of the support characters. So if you jump off the map, and you're trying to kill somebody, if you're trying to knock your enemy off, that rain dog will actually reel you back into the map. It'll be able to keep you hovering off the map while you do the fighting and then reel you in.
Yeah, the rain dog. No, I'm impressed by the rain dog. But you know what the rain dog is that none of the other things are? It's not a WB character. An original character for this game.
Look, nothing will ever
do more of that.
I think we've all come to the realization that nothing will ever touch Smash in that category. It's never going to happen. That's why there are Smash-like. They're called Smash-like games, you know. But I think having something at least new that's fundamentally sound, you know,
it's like Souls likes.
Yeah, well,
I
Souls
downloaded it.
Yeah.
I checked
Souls
it out. I said that seems competent, and I might not ever think about it ever again.
Yeah, you probably won't.
I want to do a quick shout out real quick because I think it's deserving. So my bro Keith Garlington here, if you don't know him, he is a movie reviewer. Keith in the Movies. He has his own site. I met him at E3, big Xbox dude. Super nice guy. He just got accepted to be an official critic on Rotten Tomatoes this week. So big shout out to him. I know he's been working towards that for a while. But if you like movies, which I think almost all of us do, and you appreciate kind of perspectives on them, non-spoilers, all that, check his reviews out. It's very well written.
Nice. Yeah, I found out about Keith from you. So props to you, man. Congrats.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Cool. It's not easy to get on those meta sites, man. It's tough. So, all right.
Certified some stuff fresh.
There you go. Dan, anything?
Fresh stuff first, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to make fresh stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I really haven't been playing a whole lot. I just jumped back into Hitman 3, and that is pretty much it. So, yeah, literally the Ambrose Island came out. I finished every single challenge, every single assassination, every single feat, every single thing.
There's some new Hitman 3 something?
It's a new area, basically.
There's
New map. It's really nice.
They keep adding stuff to that game. It's pretty impressive, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because I kind of took a little break, and then I came back. I checked out they have like an elusive target arcade. I was a little skeptical on that, but it's actually not bad. But it's just kind of rehashing all the elusive targets. They kind of put them in groups of 3. Once you finish all 3 of them, you get like a special weapon or costume or whatever it is, depending on which 3 that you're doing. But the new map is actually really, really good. It's really long as far as like trying to accomplish that mission. Like I looked at, I try to stay away from any kind of hints or anything. And I take like hours usually when something like this drops, and I'll just go in, check everything out, find out where all the items are that I might need, open up the map and see, basically just do a recon for about a couple hours. And I was doing all right, but most of these assassinations were redacted. A lot of times they have them where it's like hidden trophies. You don't actually know what they are. It has a title, and that's basically all you have. So finding out, and they have a little picture, so you kind of have to base it on whatever that picture is. I was doing all right, and then I got to, there's one called A Pirate's Life for me, and it just showed him standing on a beach in a Buccaneers outfit, and I was like, okay, well, it has something to do with his outfit. That's all I knew, and it took me probably 3 or 4 hours just trying to figure out what was going on. Like, I'm not. This isn't really spoiler territory. This will help you out. You basically have to light braziers, like fire, like 4 different ones around the map. It doesn't tell you anything about it. I didn't even know I could light them until I actually walked up to one with a torch. Yeah, I walked up to one.
I had a completely different notion of what this quest was, Dan.
No, yeah, oh, sorry.
Braziers, yeah.
Braziers, yeah. Braziers, sorry.
There's just women on fire running around the map. Like, Dan, what are we doing?
Maybe it's the Pirates.
That's the best part of the new map. Yeah, the women on fire. That sounded weird. Anyway, so you let the braziers, and then you have to go to like this little cove and dig out a sword, and you have to use that basically dressed as a buccaneer to kill the targets. Like I had no idea. I accidentally lit one, so I lit a bunch of other ones. I knew there was a spot where I could dig something up, but it wouldn't let me dig anything up. Like you walk over it and your controller vibrates. I'm just like, why can't I dig something here? That's crazy. So it just took me a long time. But once you figure out, I think my best run is like 8 minutes. I had then looked at the leaderboards shortly after that. There was somebody that did this run in like 58 seconds. Sure. And I'm just like, I don't understand like how. And so I went and watched it. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like you have to be so they start running, they grab something, they throw it up in the air, they shoot it while it's in the air, then they snipe like 2 other things, and don't even look to see if they hit it. Then they start running the complete opposite direction, I guess hoping that everybody's dead, that they, it's insane. It's insane to me. I will never be that good ever. But it's really enjoyable. I wish they did a little bit more as far as, I wish they would put one of these out like every 3 months, but I know it's probably a lot to ask. So, but and another thing with my OCD is that it fits somewhere in the Hitman 3 narrative, but it doesn't. Like they don't put it in like the middle of the story, right? Like because the characters that are there with you, helping you, they're different than what towards the end of the game is. And I'm just like, okay, so where do I play this at? Do I play it here or maybe in between Hitman 2 and 3? I don't know. So it's one of those things where I'm just like, ugh. They have it at the very end, which doesn't make any sense chronologically, but it's fine. It's nice. I got everything unlocked. I'm super happy about it, but now I'm stuck.
I don't think I have ever unlocked everything on any of the areas in a Hitman game.
Yeah,
me neither.
Ever.
I have mastery level 20 in every single level except for there's the last one of the first Hitman game, Hakito or whatever it is, and I can't do it. It's too much. So I've tried. I'm pretty close. I'm probably like at 17 out of 20, but everything else I'm good. I've got basically everything unlocked that I can, not including the new stuff and the contracts and all the other escalations and stuff. That's what I'm working on now. I figured out what the hell. I'll just go back because I got nothing else really going on.
I was gonna say I need to find a game, any game, that I can love as much as Dan loves Hitman. Like
I love it.
I the fact that you could even talk that long about a single free edition to the game is shocking to me. Like I need to find
much longer.
I guess I did that with Elden Ring. I'll give you that. But other than that, it's tough to find a game that I will go back to. Hell, even Elden Ring as much as
man. If they added a free island for you to explore in Elden Ring, I would expect you to go for at least an hour.
For sure.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Whenever that expansion comes for Elden Ring, yes. I'll be back in.
No, I mean if you like Hitman, it is a very robust offering. It is from the start, and with extra stuff. The brilliance of their model is it's almost like a board game in terms of modules. Is that they add one of these areas and then they can do contracts and escalations and all this stuff that is still a good new experience and is a lot of fun. I enjoy Hitman a lot. I've just never gotten to that level of like. You really have to know those maps in order to do what like Dan is talking about at all.
You really do.
And so,
that's a whole nother level.
I played a little bit of the new Outriders. They patched it, so we kind of went off on that. They did patch it. They fixed a lot of stuff. They didn't fix the difficulty. The loot is better for Outriders.
I'm not starting on that again.
Just slightly. I'm just saying. Travis isn't here. It won't take long.
You have Stockholm syndrome with that game, bro.
Listen, I'm at the point with that where I just kind of jump on with my son and play, and that's about as much as I can handle.
Outriders is fun. Yeah. You know what's more fun? Playing cards on High Isle.
I can't imagine that's true.
I did send you a picture. I did reinstall ESO this week, and I did play for maybe 90 minutes or so. Wandered around, got a bunch of missions, figured out what the heck I was doing again. So I have it there, ready to go. So
I played probably another 10 games of Tribute this week. So yeah, nice. My daughters make fun of me because they actually like watching ESO, and they say, we got a Haunted Mansion to go over there, or we have like a murder to figure out over there, and there's a cave that's like really interesting over here. I'm like, yes, absolutely. We just have a couple more games of cards to do today, and they're like, oh, Dad. And then the latest game of cards gave me a secret clue to a card upgrade somewhere on High Isle, and I said, well, we're gonna have to do this, ladies. He's like, it's a card, Dad, and I'm like,
I am 100% with you. I would be the same way. Like, I got to go get that card,
but it's a poem, and it's just like, go find this card. And I'm like, we have to do it. It's going to take me forever because the poem is like not helpful at all. So yeah, no, I have been enjoying Elder Scrolls Online so much. This is the nice part of 2022, right? Which is like, we aren't inundated with things. And so it's like, wow, ESO really came into its own for what I'm looking for one of these. So that was a nice discovery for me.
And similar to what I was saying about Pub, if you haven't played ESO in a while, like I hadn't, it is a far improved experience from what it was even a short while ago. And it's the one thing I really love when developers do is on console, give me the same options like on PC of customization. So you can run frame rate or resolution as you would expect, but you can do all sorts of things like your field of view. You can change UI sizes. You can completely tailor your screen to you. And I love that.
It's smooth as butter on the Xbox.
Very smooth. Very smooth. Yeah.
I'm just glad, it seems like everybody's found something to kind of bide their time between these bigger releases, and that's I've never really had a game like Hitman or like ESO card game. What is it called? Tribute or Tribune or whatever?
Yes, it's Tales of Tribute.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm coming up on the 100 ranked matches achievement. So
my gosh.
Wow.
So I can school some fools at Tribute now.
Think of how much money people are saving. That's the best. Gas is high. Inflation's out of control. You got to make these things, last. So shout out to these devs that just keep adding content to these live service games.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job.
Well, as Ains found out, they do charge you if you'd like to play Tribute. You got to buy their high aisle.
I did get I got the flyer wherever I was on the wall saying, "Come play a card game." It
really is kind of insidious, right? So I was commenting on Elder Scrolls being a little bit more fair than Destiny. I think we were talking about, and Ains sends up a picture of like this quest line that's like, "Come to Gonflambe and check out Tribute. You're gonna love it." And I was like, "Oh, Ains, you bought High Isle?" And he's like, "No, that's the ad." And I'm like, oh, that's kind of mean. As we have this sweet card game that Hogue keeps talking about. Come to Gonflambe. Oh, I'm sorry. Gonflambe doesn't exist to you. That'll be $40, sir.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I only knew what it was because of you. Like, if I just had encountered that on my own, I would have been like, what are you talking about? So
what's a Gonfalon? The Hogue House loves to say Gonfalon because they make fun of it. It's like, that is the most ridiculous sounding thing ever. And it's like, Gonflambe is awesome. And I want to live there.
Gecko Gamer in the chat says No Man's Sky is probably the best. That's the best example of what Dan was just mentioning.
They had another expansion 2 weeks ago.
It just got a big upgrade.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Has there ever been any paid expansion, or they've all been free? That's unbelievable.
No, they've been running self-flagellation mode for a solid 6 years now.
But the thing
they're doing this season gaming model.
That's amazing, man. Like, look how much time and work they've put into the game since it launched. Clearly, they're still selling copies. They're still they're still moving copies for them to have the funding for this. And yet, all these expansions and all this content, and it's free of charge. That's
I think Sean Murray's reputation mattered to him.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
I think he really hated what happened and said, we're just going to spend it all fixing it. And so, I think it worked. Obviously, I think everybody thinks very highly of Hello Games and No Man's Sky at this point in time. If you were to look at Q scores or whatever, I think that's the roadmap for horrible launch and recovery. You've got like two good examples now with No Man's Sky and Final Fantasy 14. I feel good story, absolutely great. I have to get back into No Man's Sky because I check it out every 5 expansions or so.
Yeah, as Gecko said, there's a Switch port coming, and Def said there's a physical copy coming too, like an updated, revised one, which I'll probably buy as well. I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I think they have 15, if I recall, either 12 or 16, close to that now, expansion since launch, which is just nuts.
Well, they're good at marketing them. They put the little science fiction novel covers on them, and they theme them. It's like, no, you guys have done good with that.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That's
good
very
for
cool.
them, man.
So all right. So let's move on to our kind of what we call on our main topic today, which was the report from Mr. Schreier over at Bloomberg. Hey, you might not have
Hey buddy.
You beat me to it. But basically, he spoke with approximately 20 people from Rockstar about the past few years there, the change in culture, obviously pandemic, why, what's going on with GTA 6, change in leadership, all these things. So gonna read a few kind of excerpts here if you haven't read this to kind of give you the context, and then we're gonna talk about as a topic kind of what we expect out of GTA 6 and can they. It sounds almost stupid to ask because GTA is such a big IP in gaming, but can they kind of recapture what they did with GTA 5? So basically, the way this report described it is, leading up to GTA 5 and, of course, the release of Red Dead 2 in 2018, which is the last game they released, by the way, which is wild to think about. They called it essentially a boys club, which we've, heard about some of these companies, a lot of allegations and things going on behind the scenes, developers leaving to go to strip clubs and doing drugs and, all the stuff. Sounds like Atari of the 70s kind of thing. They said that recently, over the past couple of years, this is a boys club transformed into a real company, that a bunch of people have been let go. I believe, I don't have it here, but I believe it's something like 20 plus people, leaders, had been let go. A whole bunch of transition basically since the launch of Red Dead 2. Obviously, a lot of crunch was involved. It says in October of 2018, shortly before the release of Red Dead 2, Hauser, who was Dan Hauser, who left in 2019, by the way, as we've talked about on the show before, said the team was working up to 100-hour weeks to finish the game. And this seemed to be kind of accepted and, quote, regular for their major releases. Now, according to this report, GTA 6 has been in development in some form, so probably artwork, concepts, etc., since 2014. And which is kind of wild to think about. And the game, as they know it today anyway, it's apparently been changed and ideas have been scrapped and thrown out, etc. It'll take place in a fictional version of Miami and the surrounding areas. The game will grow over time with additional missions and cities, although they said the same about GTA 5, I might remind you. And that the main protagonist is going to be a Latina female, the first female lead in a Grand Theft Auto title, and influenced heavily by Bonnie and Clyde. So apparently they may be going with the multiple protagonist approach again.
Yeah, it looked like 2.
Yeah. So the latest they said is, it says, I love this quote, industry analysts anticipate the next release, will be in 2024 fiscal year, which is from April 2023 to March 2024. I'll go ahead and say now I'm banking on that not happening. But this is, if you haven't read the report, you can find the summary of it on our site, of course. We link to Bloomberg's article, of course. But it's interesting, if nothing else. And I think it's probably similar to what a few companies have been going through over the past several years of kind of articles of crunch and women mismanagement and all these things in these workplaces has evolved over the past several years. So anyway, guys, about GTA 6 itself. So what they said in the article is that they're this new kind of more progressive work culture is struggling, at least in this article, with coming up of how to create satire, as they always do, of America when the culture within the company is vastly different. And America has changed so drastically in the decade since GTA 5 released, and it's become almost a parody of itself. Hogue, I see you warming up. They're basically trying to figure out how they make GTA 6 and what does that look like. So I guess the question I'll ask to you guys is, regardless of what you think of kind of how GTA's done it before, I guess that matters, but it's been known as this kind of edgy high school level maybe approach to, you know what I mean? It's just in your face, rude. Doesn't matter what you're doing, beating up hookers. We know all the talk about Grand Theft Auto. We don't have to rehash that here.
Yeah.
Are they able to still capture that in 2025, let's say, when this game releases? And does this new culture at Rockstar replicate what they've done in the past? And if they do, the second part of the question, if they do, will it be as broad of an impact as their prior Grand Theft Auto games in 3, 4, and 5? Anyone, take it away. Sorry, I've been talking for a while.
Me too.
You guys go. I'll start with Mo. Mo, go ahead. Guest goes first. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a good topic. I don't think that personally. I don't think that they're.
On this show, Mo, you say, in my opinion, so that when Travis watches it later,
yeah.
he can...
Well, that's why I said I don't think is the same as in my opinion.
That's why he hates it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yep. Grand Theft Auto itself, obviously, like just it was never afraid to push the boundaries, in terms of storytelling and in terms of Seder, in terms of being in your face with a lot of the things that we hate, and that includes a lot of what you just said, whether it's violence or misogyny or all this other stuff that we've seen over the past like 20 years. I don't know how it's going to, because if you're changing the culture of the studio and you're getting rid of the old people that were there, the ones that were kind of responsible behind the storytelling and the ones that were pushing it forward, I don't know, man. This is a very deep topic, but I don't know how it's going to be received. And on top of that, is that something that they're really willing to do? I mean, do they still have the balls to say, hey, we know how things are nowadays. Hypersensitivity is all around. Everybody gets, everyone gets, what's the word I'm looking for? Everyone gets offended over everything, right? I mean, and Grand Theft Auto has never been the games that were away from the press or that were away from the magnification. I mean, they were always magnified. Every aspect of it was, just because of the cultural things that they provided in the games themselves. That's really gonna depend on I don't know, man. I have no idea. I don't think it's gonna have the same effect. I don't think it's gonna have the same effect in video games as it did before. And I think that's because in my opinion, if they tone it down, I think if they do end up toning it down, provided that they give a good story, if their story writers are great, which for all intents and purposes with Rockstar, I don't think that's ever been an issue. If they can somehow get away from the lewd, and keep it focused on different things, but how are you going to do that? It's Grand Theft Auto. Like, that's what's expected. Violence is expected. Shootouts are expected. Robberies are expected. Sex is expected. All these things are expected in these games themselves. That's what made these games what they are, besides the open world aspect and whatnot, right? I'm not saying that's it, but that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
So getting away from that, and getting away from that in a different direction while maintaining the open world game, it's just going to stay an open world game. That's it.
Just to touch on that, one thing I didn't mention, and I pulled the article up here. Sorry, you can see the reflection. I realize on my screen. Sorry. But it says in summer of 2020, after the George Floyd events, they had a mode coming out for GTA Online called Cops and Crooks, where basically, it was you were killing cops and cops were killing other people. Obviously, it's Grand Theft Auto, so they didn't release that. And they also went back and removed specific jokes of on trans people and other things from Grand Theft Auto 5. So just to they said, I'm sorry, developers are also being cautious not to punch down, quote, by making jokes about marginalized groups in contrast to previous games. So again, just to the point you're trying to make, which is different era, different environment nowadays, and a different culture at Rockstar, it's obviously going to change their development in some vein.
Look at Grand Theft Auto 4. Nico Bellic, he was an immigrant, right? He came here. He saw, he expected to see the Golden Brick Road, and then he started seeing like the seediness and the underlying bullshit that you see, and then he saw the racism directed towards him because he was an immigrant. That's stuff that really resonates with these older games. And I'm not talking about the bad stuff. I don't want anybody to think like, oh, what? So you're saying misogyny has to be in there? No, I'm not saying that. But the things that made this series what it is to push the boundaries, just off of what you just said right now, it seems like it's going in that direction, right? And I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have in terms of it being the Grand Theft Auto that we know. You know what I mean? So you take that how you will, in terms of, I don't know how, I personally, I stopped caring about GTA after like 4. I mean, 4 was the last, I actually beat the campaign for 4 and that was it. I didn't beat 5 and I never really cared to go back to it. But again, but I played the older ones. So obviously these are games that we grew up with. I don't know, man. I think if they're getting away from all these things, it's good for the company. It's good. Obviously they have the recognition and the internal growth that has been really heavily criticized, since the Hauser brothers were just ruling with an iron fist, but in terms of how they're going to be, in terms of how they're going to resonate, I think it's going to be different. I think they're going to sell. It's Grand Theft Auto. I think it's going to sell, but I don't think it's going to have, I think there's a lot of competition now. And I think because of the way that the world is functioning now, I don't know if it's going to have the same impact as it did before. That's my personal take on it. Yeah.
Yep.
Hogue?
Hogue, you're in a great place because I can see you ready to speak, but I don't know if this is going to be one of those moments where you surprise us with like a quick 15-second quip, or if you're ready to go for like 5 minutes. So I'm prepared either way, baby. Just hit me with it.
Wound up, man. I feel like it's gonna be good.
Well, look, Jason Schreier and I share a special relationship, which is he reports on whatever nonsense ex-employees from companies tell him without any type of further examination, and then reacts very negatively when he's questioned or criticized. So I did some questioning and criticizing on my channel this week. I called it Virtue City because obviously a fictionalized Miami is Vice City to you and I. In the Grand Theft Auto universe. But I think the more predominant question, right? I'm a business lawyer. I read this article and there's a couple of things I know. One, Mr. Schreier talks quite extensively about how this all changed in 2018 based on criticisms of their company culture, which is, of course, originated from Mr. Schreier in a Kotaku expose. And so there's a little bit of credit lauding at the top of the article. But more importantly, he spends the second half of the article talking about how much of a mess Rockstar is at this point in time in terms of getting a product out the door. Yep. So you say, can they match it for, if they become a more sensitive company? Honestly, I think that's all a smokescreen because by the time you get to the second half of the article, you're talking about them putting 3 managers in where 1 worked. You're talking about employees saying they didn't know who to answer to. Combat wasn't set. Things aren't set. We don't have a plan. People aren't directing. And more importantly, at the end of the day, the very last kind of segment of the article talks about, very briefly, but talks about people leaving the company because progress isn't being made because it's such a shit show. And then includes a quote that is treated very positively in the article context, but I think is a lot more negative. And evidence of systemic issues that some people, however, are just fine working at a place where there's no pressure to get a game out the door. It's like, well, okay, you might have a happier work environment, or you might have people that are otherwise happier for as long as that company stays in existence. But you might also have just shown everybody that has a drive to get a game out the door, and resulted in a team of people that are fine kind of navel gazing and chin stroking and figuring things out over the course of 15 years, which they've been given the opportunity to do because of shark cards and nonsense in the game that was successful from their predecessors. So I look at this and say, is there any chance it will have the same kind of zeitgeist effect? No, none at all. But that doesn't mean it won't be a success. I mean, if they do anything with their army of artists and make something remotely like a real city and put some tunes on the radio and give you some kind of combat ability, they're the only ones really even trying to do that. Saints Row new version might be, although Saints Row, I mean, the interviews for Saints Row have a lot of the same kind of language. We're more careful with our comedy. I think there's even some punching down language in there. I think there might even be the satire line in the Saints Row like press packet. So I don't know that anybody knows whether these things will work out, whether they'll be compelling, whether they'll be interesting or not. It is certainly the case that some of the ingredients that made these things popular and interesting are going to be eliminated. And some people are going to be happy about that. Question is, are the people that are going to be happy about that the ones that would have otherwise bought Grand Theft Auto, or that will now? And I have enormous doubts about that. But Volition's putting a game out. I can't say the same for Rockstar.
Yeah,
very fair. Very fair.
No, I'm sorry. I just wanted to just to piggyback off of what you said. The other thing is, we were looking at, if you're changing company culture, and that comes with a lot, like you get, like, you've touched on, and I was just mentioning earlier, and about putting out games. You're seeing okay, so no crunch, everything is different, right? But clearly that has affected their output. I mean, even Red Dead Online is barely updated or supported anymore.
And they ended it. Yeah, I mean, they ended.
They did. Yeah, they did. They did. They put all their eggs in the Grand Theft Auto 5 online portion, which, for obvious reasons, because it's a moneymaker. It's a big moneymaker for the company. But since GTA 5, you've only had Red Dead Redemption 2, and that is a game that has sold a lot. People have been begging for an enhancement, something. A 60 FPS boost on consoles is what people are asking for. And even that is something that they turned away from, because I'm guessing they probably wanted to put all of the resources into Grand Theft Auto 6. Why? Because crunch doesn't exist anymore over there. I'm not condoning it. I'm not condoning crunch. I'm just saying this game is going to take a lot longer than before, because now you're at a point where you have to put everybody on board that you have for this giant game in order to compensate for the change of culture. And that's going to result in a game that's going to be much further out than we're anticipating. I was surprised, to be honest with you, that they even confirmed its existence a few months ago, when they said, like, oh, hey, just by the way, we are working on GTA 6, but that was it. In terms of
Take-Two is going through some stuff, right? I mean, yeah. Rockstar is kind of in that. Who are the folks that make Batman that haven't made anything in like a
Rocksteady.
See, I knew it was similar to Rockstar.
Yeah.
So you look at those game companies, and sometimes they have to make announcements to be like, we're still alive. We still need people to work here. So, take our calls. And it'll be something cool. Rockstar, by description of this article, and this is where it gets interesting, right? Because it's like, keep in mind, rock stars of the world, that the Jason Schreiers of the world are not going to give you a pity party in the article that they write about you because you changed some things because they made you, or they otherwise told you that you had to do these things. Jason Schreier rips them a new one in the second half of this article for making changes that he espoused in his 2018 article. And now the answer to that is, of course, well, I wouldn't have done it that way, right? Oh, obviously too many cooks in the kitchen. Now you wouldn't have done it that way. Wouldn't have done it that way. Wouldn't have done it that way. And yet, some of this might be mistakes. Some of this might be issues with administration. That always happens. We're human beings. Some of it might be endemic to trying to change how you make the video games. Yeah. And look, I said at the top of my video on my channel, my brother's a game developer. He's a AAA game developer. I want him to get a huge salary and not have to crunch and not do these things. I really want developers to have good lives, but it might be the case that there has to be some actual pressure to put out a game, that there has to be some kind of drive, that there has to be someone that is actually willing to, not use the stick, but at least have a stick threatened to actually get something out. And Rockstar might be discovering that right now. I mean, the other aspect of this, right, is that you also have the kind of tale as old as time with respect to massive success. GTA Online has given you laurels to rest upon your head and to sit back and enjoy for a while. So there isn't that pressure, not even just structurally from getting rid of overtime or whatever it is that they've done, but because, hey, it's all working right now, so who cares? The problem is it's not going to work forever. And if you have these decade-long games that are the pillars of your company, if you ever fail at all, even on the projections of what you're trying to hit, all hell breaks loose. Like, you don't want to run a tentpole business, especially not in an entertainment industry, and especially not in what could be a depression by the time you release the damn thing. So, I mean, you've got all sorts of problems if you're Rockstar, and I would be worried if I were them. I'd be worried if I were Take-Two. And that article, from a business perspective, put the fear of God in me on that, but not on any of the stuff about, look, I think that if you're saying that stuff about not being able to satire America and that kind of thing, I question that you don't have a vision at all for your game, period. Like, I'm not hearing anything that is driving you creatively in that article. But outside of that, I don't care. If you want to make Saints Row, which according to its preview videos is about like repaying student debt and talking about influencers and avocado toast or whatever, it's like, all right, you build the world that you want. I will work with you. And I will tell you whether I think that was, good or not, but that's fine. You build whatever you like. You want to have a ridiculous satire. And I'm coming at this from a perspective of a guy that doesn't like Rockstar's writing. I think that Grand Theft Auto 5 is superficial and facile. And Ain said high school. I wouldn't put it above 7th grade in terms of either the insight, the writing, the dialogue, or elsewise. I'm not interested in it. It's puerile and ridiculous. That said, their worlds that they build are a lot of fun. And honestly, I wish they were a little bit less like that. So maybe this was designed to make me happy. I'm not. But again, I don't have a game to react to, and I don't anticipate having a game to react to for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I know what both of you are saying. And as you were talking about kind of crunch culture, and I know, Mo, we've talked a lot offline about this as well. You have to be really careful because there's people take comments the wrong way. And
they sure do.
I work in an industry and with teams and my teams where we are responsible for producing customer-facing applications and on timelines, and there's an expectation for revenues and affecting fiscal and calendar years and all these things. And I know, at least to a degree, and I've never made a game, I'm not drawing a one-to-one comparison here, but there are similarities, I'm sure, around feeling the pressure to get something done on a timeline. And there is a very fine line between crunch and demanding and having a culture that is built around 100-hour weeks or 80-hour weeks, whatever it may be, and understanding that there is still, regardless of not having crunch, still having ample pressure to deliver something meaningful in a time frame.
Basis,
on a timely, thank you. In a reasonable time frame was the word I was looking for.
Sure.
And I agree with you, Hogue, that the one statement in the article, which really struck me weird, being in the career I am, of there are developers leaving because they feel like there's no direction. That is not a good thing. Like that is the last thing you want to hear about a game's development, because especially when you're talking about lack of direction as it relates to scope, lack of direction on a game like Stray is one thing. Lack of direction on a game like Grand Theft Auto 6 is a whole different ball of wax. And that is lack of a direction on a game that is not only so vast and large, but also has the weight of the world of expectations on it. And the longer it takes to get this game out, those expectations grow and grow and grow. This sounds interesting to me. I completely agree with you guys that no matter what, Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to sell like hotcakes. Day one launch is going to break records. Everything else around the world in the gaming industry will stop when that game comes out. All of that is expected. But
I like seeing their worlds. I like seeing Rockstar's sandbox, and I don't anticipate that to be different.
No, but long term, we definitely see. And there were a couple good comments. I've got to find them now. Damn it.
Only a couple, chat. You only produced a couple of good comments today. Just so we're clear. Get on it. All right. We have demands, chat. You don't have to crunch for those chats, but you do have to give them to us.
In a timely manner, please. Okay. Come on. Christy says, I think another issue, and this is a good point. Another issue is trying to recreate something that happened like 15 years ago is like trying to, quote, make something go viral. That's just not how it works, which is a fair point. You don't create something to go viral, right? Like that's not, if you set out to design that, it's going to shift your design focus. And Drudwin also makes, I've talked about this on the show, I know many times, but the artistic identity went out the door when most of the original guys left. And we've said before that Dan Houser is gone. He wrote and basically led every GTA game to date for Rockstar, as well as Red Dead 2. I always forget the guy's name.
It's Leslie something, isn't it?
Leslie something. You're right. Yes. Someone in chat will tell us.
Venice? I want to say
Benzies. That's it.
Thank
Leslie
you.
Benzies.
We got there.
He was a critical lead as well, and they're both gone. Those are two of your leaders going back to direction on this franchise that are gone. So
companies are not. They don't make things by themselves. They're all people.
Yep.
You know, it's like your favorite pro sports team. You're rooting for laundry because the people change and they're going to have different results.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're looking, and this is going to be a bad analogy, so just prepare for it. But, you know, you're looking at your GTA 4s and 5s, which is your 49ers of the 80s, and then suddenly Montana and Rice leave the team. Well, that's not the same team. You know what I mean? It's just that's what happens with some of these teams and studios is, you know, your major leaders who influence a lot more than you realize behind the scenes are gone. And someone has to pick up that slack. Sometimes they do. Sometimes it turns out better than you would have anticipated, but a lot of times it doesn't. So this is definitely a wait and see thing for me to see how this turns out. So
and we'll be waiting and seeing. Even the quote in that article was something like, we don't have a timeline at all internally, right? We don't. People interviewed for this article said they didn't know of any firm release date, but they expect the game to be at least 2 years away. It's like, okay, so there is nothing. There is no whiteboard somewhere that even has a plan for exit. Okay,
they have a bullet point that says female protagonist. Like,
there's somewhere at the end, there's a timeline and it says release, and it just says question mark. And it's like, yeah, all right, that's cool.
So,
do they really have to though?
Go ahead. I was gonna say, go ahead, Dan. We've been talking for a while, man. Go.
No, I mean, they've got, you know, GTA Online right now that is probably making them money hand over fist.
It is.
They can basically take their time.
Not to interrupt you, Dan. It is the most successful multimedia property, I think it said in that article, of all time.
Yeah. So easily. I mean, it's whatever they want to do. I mean, do it. I mean, you get to the point where, you know, maybe they'll put out Crunch the Game or something. You know, I mean, I don't know. It's you can make it serious, right? You can have a serious tone, you know, I mean, and find a couple of decent writers that could do something and make a game that's actually serious and still have some satire, some humorous moments. You know, it doesn't have to be what it's been forever. You know, people change, you know, I mean, it's just how it is.
But did you make Grand Theft Auto then?
Yeah, I mean, what makes a, I guess, Grand Theft Auto game then? You know, you steal cars, you know, is that, you know, if you boil it down to like the basic function of it, you know, it's some kind of, you know, criminal activity, you know, and, you know, it just depends on how deep you want to go into that kind of stuff, you know.
Well, and to be fair, Grand Theft Auto was reborn once before. Grand Theft Auto 3 was a completely different experience than Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2. So it's happened in the past.
Yeah, if you're somebody that wants, you know, a game where you can just run around and, you know, beat up hookers and shoot everybody that you want to, and then that's fine. You know, if that's what you're expecting from, you know, the next game, and it doesn't happen, I guess you're disappointed. You know, what the hell are you going to do? You know, these guys, you know, obviously have to find a new path. They don't, like you guys said, to have that leadership that they had before. You know, it doesn't sound like there's really any going on in there. But like, it just seems like a really, really long time to me as far as like a game being developed. But also I can kind of see it from their point of view, only because they've got a cash cow that they don't really have to worry. You know, they should be able to take their time and come out with something amazing. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be, you know, probably mid-level, and, you know, it'll be a AAA game. It'll be huge. You know, everybody will probably love it, but it's probably not going to be, you know, it's not going to be one of those games where you go, oh man, yeah, you know, that really hit me right there in the feels. You know, it's not like you're not going to get that.
Well, I mean, never has been.
Yeah, you never has been, right? Yeah, you know, but you could. I mean, why not change it up a little bit? You know, make it a little more serious. I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2, you know, and I agree with you, Hogue. It's not like the best written game ever, but it had a serious story with, you know, it tackled a couple issues, you know, that,
No, it did. It had like a 90-minute serious story that it told 45 times in a row. Yeah.
Yes, it did. Yeah, I agree with that.
I can't do this today. Darn it.
But there were times you played that game and you were laughing out loud because it was hilarious. The thing that happened. And it wasn't. If people are worried about being offended about something, then it's probably not going to be the game for you. But
but you can't put it on people, right? Like this is preemptive. Right, you could say people are going to be offended by whatever. People didn't get the chance, right? They're making these changes internally on their own, right? And so I don't know what it'll come out being. Like I said, I don't like their satire, and I don't. Red Dead Redemption 2, very serious in terms of plot and narrative, has some stupid satire. Whether it's in the newspapers or the movies or the various other, like some of the missions with the question mark people. It's like, yeah, there's some garbage in Red Dead Redemption 2 in terms of that humor that Rockstar brings to the party. Yeah. So I haven't liked their humor in a long time. So they say, hey, we're gonna do it differently. It's like ostensibly I should be like cool, but I don't know. I'm far more concerned about the production stuff in that article than I am about like the tone stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm with you.
Yeah. I guess we'll see. I was gonna say. I think we've covered quite a few aspects of this. I would say to close this, I know Travis isn't here, but let's assume for a second that Bitcast is still here 5 years from now. Let's make our predictions when this game releases. Let's hear it. Give me a month and a year.
For the record, folks that are watching right now, we won't be around 5 years from now unless you like and subscribe. So please consider hitting the subscribe button and telling your friend. Bring a friend next time. We'll have a nice barbecue, maybe some kind of block party. That would be fantastic. That'll help us get to that 5-year mark.
That's true.
And then maybe folks will listen to us, and we won't be shouting into the void on Bloomberg tech and equality articles, which is the first time I've seen that sub-headline from Bloomberg, by the way.
Is that what it was?
Wild. So
technology inequality. You're right.
I told you. Wow. Yeah, look, I read this one. This YouTube pundit is going to read Schreier's work on these kinds of things. So
darn influencers. I tell you what. Give me a month and a year. Come on, let's go.
We're November 2025.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm there too. I'm in fall 2025. I think it's at least it's about 3 years at least.
I'll take 26. Can I have the whole year? I'll take 26.
Not till 26. Okay. All right.
Sad.
Yeah. Oof. All right. Yeah.
What were you thinking, Ains? You didn't give me your. You didn't give us your.
He does that a lot. He does that. He does that. I'm the head of the show thing.
Yeah.
Ask difficult questions to other people.
Yeah, I put you guys on the spot, not the other way around. Know your place, Mo. Jeez.
Yes, of course I'm blocked by Jason Schreier, Chad. Of course I am. I criticized him.
I will go spring 2026. Spring.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, all right. You narrowed it down. All right.
Yeah. All right. All right. Let's jump over to, we got fiscal results. Again, nothing, when we talk about fiscal results, I'm a geek. I realize this. I like looking through these things. I know a lot of people don't, so we'll keep it high level. Fun. But we got fiscal results for both Xbox and PlayStation. Now, of course, I always have to add the context that these quarters that they're reporting on are actually two different time periods, or time periods within their fiscal years, that is. So this is April to June of this year. We got from Xbox and PlayStation this week. For Xbox, this was the end of their fiscal year, 2021. For PlayStation, this is the beginning of their fiscal year 2022. So they're two different things in terms of the company. They also report on them differently because Xbox is part of Microsoft, and Sony and Microsoft report things differently. So I will just kind of speak to what we know definitively, or what was shared, I should say. So we'll start with Xbox. Basically, a small downturn year over year compared to their fourth quarter fiscal year last year. Gaming revenue down 7%, content and services down 6%, though they did, of course, have to mention that Game Pass subscribers are up. They love saying that. Their hardware sales declined 11%. However, then they caveated that as well, saying that at this point in the generation, the Xbox Series X and S are the best-selling Xboxes of all time. So outselling the 360 is really what we're talking about. And that Xbox was the top hardware among next-gen consoles in North America. Jesus. For 3 straight quarters now. So basically what they're telling you is for 3 quarters straight in North America, they have outsold the PS5.
At 100% sell-through rate. I don't know. I mean, sure.
Yes. So that is Xbox. Basically, they said you can expect a downturn in the next quarter as well. That's what they're forecasting. Amy Hood, who is their CFO, is forecasting. And again, that's probably due to no major releases, etc. So sure. PlayStation, similar in ways, but I would say maybe a little more concerning. I don't really know how to, because it's phrased differently. So PlayStation, the scariest number here is that their operating profit, now profit very different from revenue, keep that in mind, declined 37% year over year. And because of that, Sony has cut the forecast for PlayStation's annual profit by 16%. However, what I really found interesting here is that they only sold 2.4 million PS5s in the first quarter. Again, first quarter fiscal year. I know I have to keep saying that. But they're still expecting to sell 18 million units in the fiscal year, which means, of course, that they are saying they're going to sell over 5 million PS5s a quarter for the rest of the year, that's very aggressive if you pay attention to console sales. So that's interesting. Their software sales decreased 26% year over year. And then lastly, on their subscriber base, which I found kind of interesting, is that PS Plus subscribers only went up by 1 million, which is 2%, 47.3 million. So I would have thought if their PS Plus marketing and revamp on all these things had a bigger impact, we might have seen a bigger increase there. But that'll be something I pay attention to going forward. So
it's funny. I think the essentials probably are the normal cap for that. And then the goal would have been to move them up a pay tier, but not an actual subscriber number change.
Very fair point. Yep.
Would be my guess.
And the 1 million new could be net new as well, right? Like it,
I think it should be. I mean, I'm not looking at the document in front of me. That should be like new bodies in the PlayStation Plus, and then you'd want to analyze. I don't think there's enough time from when they switched over to premium to say exactly what kind of revenue bump do you get from people that are all going to be reported the same way as PlayStation Plus. Like, I'm essential. I didn't move. I don't care about what you're doing with your random tiers, but I'm still a subscriber.
Yeah. Yep. So again, I just like to mention these things because I think it's, at least to me, it's interesting. But I think it's interesting to just keep tabs on the big three, and know, because of where they're reporting. You can find all this information with a little more detail on our site. Of course, I always make sure that it's on there every quarter. But yeah, it's the most interesting thing to me out of this is honestly that Xbox is selling very well. We don't get official numbers, as we know, of console sales, but you know how that goes. But it seems like, based on estimates, that it's pretty clear that the series consoles are doing a lot better than the One was at this point in their life cycle.
They're actually competitive.
Yeah, they're actually in the market. And then Sony or PlayStation being very aggressive in terms of their sales forecast. They did mention that a lot of their constraints in getting PS5s into stores, particularly in North America and Europe, are easing up. And so that's why they haven't reduced their forecast of sales. So if it's going to be really interesting to see if they still hit 18 million PS5 sold in this fiscal year. That would be a feat. But let me remind you, someone asked me about this the other day, and I said, I'm not doubting it, because if they can get the units in stores, the demand's there, right?
That's the trick.
Get the units in stores. But think of their fourth quarter, their fourth quarter calendar year, third quarter fiscal year, which is God of War Ragnarok, easily their biggest release of the generation so far, right? It could be their biggest game of the generation. We don't know. But they also have the marketing for Call of Duty still, and Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 are going to be a monster this fall. Yeah. They're going to blow everything else away in sales, bar none. I promise you. They also have the marketing for Callisto Protocol. They also have the marketing for Hogwarts Legacy. So assuming Hogwarts launches, which a big assumption right now, that's 1 first party and 3 major marketing releases in 1 quarter. It's going to be a gigantic holiday season for the PS5.
Yeah, they're expecting. Yeah, they're definitely expecting. I mean, if you're not backing off on how many units you're going to sell, like you said, I think they are definitely expecting the software to back up that that prediction, at least. I want to call it. I don't know, man. I I don't know economics very well.
I'll
leave it to you guys for that. But they are. I mean, I think they're pretty confident in God of War. They're pretty confident. Obviously, everybody should be confident in Modern Warfare 2 because it's going to be the biggest game in the world. So it's and the downturn that we've saw with Sony and Xbox and whatever. Just a lot of people it's hard right now, man. It's really hard right now. A lot of people they're being more careful in terms of how to spend and where to spend and what to spend, what to spend on.
Yeah,
the demand for what is it?
With your statue.
He said present company excluded.
I'm just saying. Okay. But that's the thing. And then obviously, like you said, for the supply of the consoles and whatever. And that's really worked out in Xbox's favor in terms of the 2 SKUs, right? Like before you'd have people like, oh, okay, if there's no PlayStation, I'll just wait. Right. And then now, some people are like, oh well,
the S is magic.
I can't find
the smartest thing they ever did.
What is it? The S? Yeah. 100%. Oh, easily.
People are on my channel asking me to recommend games because I'm known as the gamer guy. And, I talk about a lot of people that don't play. And one of the things I often recommend is the S in a Game Pass, at least as a tryout. That's by far the best chance of success, in my opinion, even more than a Switch right now. I continue to be impressed by what their strategy was going into this generation. When I was very much not. As many people come onto my Twitter and accuse me of working for Microsoft, you don't have to go so far back to see me saying, oh my God, what are you doing over there?
Mm-hmm. The funny thing is, I write about what's coming up, especially for Xbox, quite a bit. And, obviously I've gotten plenty wrong over the last 5 to 7 years or so. This one I nailed. I said that the Series S will be the differentiator for Xbox this generation.
Well, you got it because it is magic, and I didn't know how magic it was until I had one. But it feels like 90% of an X in a much smaller box. And it's really great that way. But yeah, to me, I think Mo makes a fantastic point, which is nobody knows what the economic future holds in the near term.
Yep.
And while games have often been called recession proof, I would argue they are recession resistant. They are a very efficient way to get entertainment.
It's amazing.
But you still have to cross that threshold because nobody's, survival pyramid includes video games. And so I do think you're running a lot of risks there. I think Sony feeling like the shipping issue or the production issue, the manufacturing issues are clearing up. I'm hearing the same kind of thing from my clients who aren't, they're not building PlayStations, they're doing other stuff. But I do think that there's, real chances of other things happening. If we have economic events, which a lot of the banks are warning of right now and things like that, then all hell could break loose on these. So forward-looking statements are interesting right now in both respects. The other thing that goes along with these financials, which I think people have covered, but is absolutely right, there was an explosion in growth for 2 years. People were locked in their houses. People didn't want to go on vacations. People didn't want to go outside, and people found entertainment in video games. Yay, bully for us. But it does mean that what you really had was like 6 years of growth condensed into 18 months. You have this explosion. And then we've seen this in other industries before. One of the goals of these companies at that point is to hold it as much as possible. And you take, what that line would have been coming out of 2019, and you see where you think you might have been if that didn't happen. And, are we holding? And I would say Microsoft held excellently year over year for what was, one of their biggest years in their history. And PlayStation continues to have more supply constraint problems than Microsoft. So I don't want to judge them too harshly. But the other aspect of that, and we've talked about it in this space, is that Sony hasn't put out so much that at least gets you out of bed in the recent past. Right. So God of War, as you point out, is a big moment for them because I don't know how long are we removed from like even Ratchet and Clank, which isn't like the biggest deal. Gran Turismo, I love, but it's a racing game. And I know people get mad at me. It's like, you don't count them as real games, Rick. It's like, I buy so many racing games. I like racing, but it's not the same kind of concept of.
Here you go, hating again.
I'm with you.
I mean, let's be. But the thing is, people. They have put out. I mean, if you really think about it, this year we're 8 months in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they've had Uncharted remaster. Okay, say what you will. Still, that's a release.
For that. Come on.
They had Horizon Forbidden West. They had Sifu. Yep. They had Grand Theft. They had Gran Turismo 7, Ghostwire Tokyo, which was a 1-year exclusive. I was really okay.
But that's not they had either.
They have Stray. They have Last of Us remake. I'm not going to get into a discussion about Last of Us remake, but still, that is a mainline release, and they have Ragnarok.
Talking about it,
they've had some good. They have had some good.
Horrible, Mo. That list is horrible for a major platform holder's year of freaking releases. A year. That list is horrible.
Wait. Do I get to use it?
I don't know what to tell you, bro.
Do I get to use it?
Oh, it comes with my guy Travis. You take on his persona with that.
Yeah, just throw a tie on real quick, Mo, and then you're good to go.
No, look, I like my PlayStation. People don't understand this. I'm critical because I love. All right. I like my PlayStation. It's all shiny and white. It sits there in the corner. I turn it on occasionally. I just got it a hard drive update. That was fun. I'm really super glad I had to use like a freaking screwdriver and open plates and things. Thanks, Sony. But I just upgraded it. I'm enjoying it as a system, but it's not blowing anybody's.
And you've talked very highly of Forbidden West, to give you credit too.
I like Forbidden West a lot. It's going to go on my top 10 list. But like it's not what we got used to in terms of
So let me ask you
releases. You look at that.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so let me ask you this. Okay, everybody, I mainly play on Xbox.
Sure,
I do. Okay, now Ains knows that. What do we usually play? We usually go down to Halo or whatever it is, right? And obviously, there's the other releases. What has Xbox put out this year that makes you that gives you that? The equalizer. What has Xbox put out as an equalizer to the releases I just mentioned?
Well, one, I think you're assuming that I'd be leaning on Xbox.
No. That's why I said initially. I said, because if anybody in the chat starts to get whatever chirpy, I'm saying that even me as a main Xbox user, I'm just saying, like, I love using it because of the UI and the ecosystem and whatever. I'm just used to it. Like that's where I go to daily.
Right. I mean,
I'm
just
saying,
break this down.
in terms of content.
UI better. I like some of its features better, but the Xbox Game Pass is the equalizer for them because I've talked about it in this space. Sure. But Game Pass is the no additional charge indie festival. Like I play like that first row of every time they release games. I've played Till Dusk Falls. I don't like it as much as Ains, but we could talk about that later. I've played everything out there, so my Xbox is on more often. And so to me, the Xbox is a perfectly fine system, but I'm fully happy to admit, if you want me to go down, you tell me what their year was, I would tell you it's a horrible year for them as well. We're talking about the financials of both consoles, and nobody's releasing anything of really significance there, except for Nintendo. But yeah, well, I mean, it's the truth.
Yeah, it's the truth.
It is the truth. Yeah.
And look at I don't know. Now we're getting into a tangential topic. What's the name of this? The soccer game that they released? Mario Strikers. That one is like bare bones.
It is bare bones.
And still nothing. Yeah. Nothing. No one's saying anything anymore about it. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, Mario Strikers. Nintendo Switch Sports was a great family release. We've been really enjoying that one. We've got Splatoon. We've got Xenoblade Chronicles. We've got Triangle Strategy. We've got, I mean, like in terms of the year for me, the best stuff lives on the Switch.
Bayonetta 3. Bayonetta 3.
Which?
Bayonetta 3. Sorry.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not the biggest Bayonetta fan, but like, Pokemon. Yeah, I mean, like that's a big release. New Pokemon. Like, I don't even think it's a question in terms of looking at games that are going to sell better from their release standpoint. Yes, Modern Warfare is going to kill everybody, but like, whatever. Yep. I've done enough man shoots with Activision. I could play it in my head right now. Man
shoots. I love that. I'm taking that, Hoke. I love that.
So but it wasn't really a Sony Xbox thing.
Yeah,
I think Sony has made some stupider choices this year. I think Microsoft made some stupider choices last year. So it's it's a constant fun for everybody. I've consistently criticized Microsoft as to not apparently having production pipelines for their new acquisitions in any kind of order, and I'd love to see that get more efficiently handled. And I've been covering Microsoft all freaking year because they at least seem mostly invested in buying Activision more than doing anything else. So it's not a winning year to me in terms of tentpole releases. Ains will tell you the year Elden Ring came out is the year that God gave us forever and ever. Amen. That's fine.
That's right. We're good. We don't need anything else. It's over.
You could have announced that when Elden Ring came out, though. You might have. There might be you on tape saying, like, we don't need anything else this year, folks. It's like,
I'm still playing Hitman 3, man. I mean,
Dan can enjoy Hitman 3 and hours 400 to 600 of Forbidden West.
And
everybody's happy. Yeah. I'm playing cards in ESO. Who needs more games? But yeah, Nintendo, I think, is having the best year for things that I'm interested in personally. Microsoft, people like the Hot Wheels thing, I think. I don't.
It's really good, but it's
Microsoft
not a big release.
Put out this year, I can't even.
No, anything? super dry year for Microsoft.
They have focused on making sure Todd Howard gave him a 2022 date, and when you force Todd Howard to do something for you, everybody winds up hurt.
Yeah, it's they have as Dust Falls, as people in the chat are saying, they have Pentiment coming in November.
But I talked to you about that one. As soon as the preview came out, I said that there is no right answer. I'm like, I'm out. Whatever, man. You have fun at your Sundance Film Festival game. I'm out.
Yeah, it's a dry year. Well, I mean, we know that Nintendo's the only one who's maintained. But let me get caught up on super chats and apologize to Gecko because his one came on the prior topic, and then we got a few others here. So. Gecko's first one is relating back to the Rockstar conversation. So he says the biggest danger for Rockstar. Oh, sorry, Dan. You usually read these.
Go finish it up.
Biggest danger for Rockstar would be if people who left Rockstar start to release a superior game like GTA. So he's talking about, as we've seen in other companies. Yeah, I mean, if you didn't know, by the way, this week a second new studio was set up. I forget the name off the top of my head, from ex-developers of CD Projekt Red. So Cyberpunk apparently did a number over there, and they have now a bunch of people who have left CD Projekt Red, and there's 2 different AAA studios now set up from ex-developers. So
that happened. One I knew a little bit about. Take that, Jason.
Cyberpunk did a number on a lot of people. So.
I still love it to death, but I love it. I can't disagree. Yeah. Thank you, Gecko, for the €5 super chat, and he followed it up with a question directly for Hogue.
Sure,
€5 super chat. What? This is a broad one. What is the worst investor call you have witnessed?
Well, I will tell you this honestly, Gecko. The worst investor call, as in a call from the board to the investors or management to the investors, is not a public company, and I can't talk about it. I will say instead, however, that in the public, since we just mentioned it, and I did a video on it, Cyberpunk's board and management, CD Projekt proper, talking about the situation in November and December of, I guess that's 2020, for the Cyberpunk situation, is probably some of the worst messaging I've ever heard in terms of managing that situation. And it is what led, in my opinion, directly to the game getting pulled from Sony's PlayStation Network, because the Sony, bless their hearts, doesn't actually care that much that your game is broken, right? There's plenty of broken things on the PlayStation Store. What they care about is you impugning their entire platform, their quality assurance, and their certification process in the middle of a very public investor call. They don't like that. And so I think that cost CD Projekt, that investor call alone cost them millions of dollars. And so, yes. Now, privately, if you want to imagine things winding up something like a Reddit message board as between board members and impugning things like, I don't know, intimate relations amongst spouses in the middle of a corporate takeover attempt, I will let you go with that. That has happened. And if you can imagine what the corporate lawyer does on that call, I blacked out, so I don't recall.
I thought you were going to put out your phone and started recording, but
again, attorney-client privilege. Some of them go very wrong.
I can imagine. Gecko, thank you so much, and sorry about getting to Rockstar 1 late, man. Let's get these. We've got 4 more. Dan, I'm going to hand it to you, my friend.
Yeah, Christopher Jess with the $5 super chat. Do you guys think that there's any validity to some outlets posing that PS may increase the cost of the PS5?
No.
They just said they didn't comment on it.
Is Sony as stupid as Meta? No. Moving on.
Exactly. Yeah, not at all.
There you have it.
That would be a death knell for PlayStation. That would be no. The answer is definite. It's definitively no. I was going to keep going. No. Any site, in my opinion, this is coming from me only, as I'll preface.
Take that, Travis.
Any site even running that article is irresponsible, in my opinion.
Yeah, so. It's not a good call. Yeah, I mean,
what if their article is no, and here's why it's stupid?
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, you can go get the clicks, right? I mean, you can go clickbait and then explain to people. Like some of my titles are a little bit like, "Is this ridiculous thing true?" No, what the hell is wrong with you? Let's chat about it.
No, it's bad.
I need to get better at that because I'm too blunt, I guess. And sorry, you're gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna. I mean, it's just like, if you ask, "Hey, did you punch him in the face?" No, we're not commenting on that. So immediately it's like, "Oh, so you did punch him in the face?" That's the same kind of reaction people have to these kind of news things. Like when they don't say anything, obviously that's what's going to happen. I just never understood that kind of logic. And whoever printed that, I don't know who did it. I don't know what site put it out there first. But
Chris just followed up. He said IGN. I'm guessing he means Ryan McCaffrey. Said that PlayStation and Microsoft could charge $50 more.
Well, what's the could there?
I'm glad Travis isn't here.
It's not going to happen.
No,
I'm telling you, it's not going to happen.
I've never seen that ever.
No, everybody sees Zuck do something and they're like, "Wow, that can happen." It's like, no, they're idiots over there. They have no idea what they're doing.
No, the first thing that went through my head when I saw that Meta stuff, I was like, "Hey, you know what? I have a Quest 2, and it just increased in value." So it's
insane.
True. I was like, "This is fantastic."
Dan's busy doing real estate bubbles with his Quest.
Fantastic.
Meta is absolutely crazy. And you know what's interesting about that? So like I said, business, economics background, corporate lawyer, these kinds of things. I have so many commenters coming in and explaining to me about sales at a loss and margins and things like this. It's like, I don't understand how more clearly I can say this. I don't care. It does not matter to me what your corporate profit or revenue situation is. It doesn't matter to me what you started out with is selling it as a loss. You eat that. That was your plan. That is done. You do not come to me with a message that says, so we can invest in the stuff you like. Who are you talking to? I'm not getting that money. Figure it out.
Yeah.
I have a Quest, by the way. People are like, well, you just wanted to buy a Quest. I'm covered. I'm just talking about this as a business situation.
Yeah, it was when I first read that, I kind of did a double take, like,
insane.
They're doing what? No.
They didn't even have the temerity. They did not even have the balls to put that concept in their headline. Instead, it's what is it? It's like changes to pricing and investment in our VR future. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, Chris said I thought it was crazy myself.
It's crazy.
Reason why Meta changed, they took the Facebook stuff away. To be honest with you, we could get on a whole side conversation here, and I know Hoag's talked about it too, but Meta's
so many justifications. It doesn't matter to you. Why?
No, they're hemorrhaging money. I mean, like hemorrhaging it. That's a whole nother topic. Yeah. Gio Rio back in the house.
Yeah, with the €10. Thank you, Gio. Looking forward to the PSVR2. Wonder if they will come with live service games on PSVR2.
Two.
Yeah. Started playing Final Fantasy 14 this week. So far, enjoying it a lot.
And guess what, Gio? Interest in PSVR2 went up a little more this week thanks to Meta.
Yeah.
It's so funny because that happens on the same day. And I literally read this blog and I'm like, I still freaking hate that wire. And you just took, like, everything that they advertise in that blog post this week is Quest stuff. Like they just took the Quest UI and slapped it on the PlayStation VR. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. Don't reinvent the wheel if something works, and their Guardian system works. Like that was a big step forward for VR. So PlayStation just said, that's a big step forward. We'll take that. Yoink. And they still have the wire. And then I'm like, oh, see, they're going down the blind alley. We should be working on Untethered. We should be figuring out all this stuff. And then I'm like that. And then Meta comes out and is like, yo, folks, it's $100 more. And I'm like, this is like watching two people shoot their own feet off. I don't know. I love VR. I love the experience. And I do not believe in the stewards of our young nascent industry. Thankfully, the FTC is here to blow it up even further.
Yeah. Again, that's yet another topic. But that's great, Gio. Thank you very much for the super chat. In terms of live service question, the short answer is yes. You can absolutely expect some live service games to land on PSVR2. If you haven't yet, check out my video on the big three and where they're going. There's a lot of info on PlayStation's next 3 years in that. PlayStation is investing very, very heavily in this arena. So, yes. Thank you. Pampa in the house.
Oh, Pampa. I love you, man. With $10 super chat, you guys believe there will be a mid-gen upgrade of these consoles? PS5 Pro, Xbox Series X2, XS. Love you guys. Everyone hit those thumbs up. Thank you, Pampa.
Hit those thumbs up, people.
Probably.
Yes, please.
Yes, if they can sell you more stuff, they will find a way to sell you more stuff. I do think this generation might have been extended to 10 years. I mean, I think you might be looking at 5 instead of 3.5.
Yeah, funny enough, I actually DM'd Pampa when I saw this pop up because I have a video coming for patrons tomorrow where I actually talk about this, along with a bunch of other things in the next few years. In my opinion, I don't know. I joke that Xbox cautiously says no, which probably means yes. As Dan was just joking about, but I don't see, honestly, with the way tech is advancing and you have AMD's new hardware and NVIDIA's new hardware, we'll know all the details of that by the end of this year. I honestly just don't know how you go another 5 years in the way at the speed at which technology is advancing right now, and software for that matter that uses technology without upgrading. I don't see it. I don't think we have another situation, or let me rephrase that. I hope we don't have another situation where we're relying on decade-old technology for our games like we're doing with the Xbox One and PS4.
Here's the problem.
Nintendo sits in the corner laughing.
Yeah,
they do.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah, they're laughing at you. I don't think developers have hit that point yet where they push the hardware for these new consoles. Even
listen about the slowness, right? The slowness of releases matters to this equation as well. The industry has slowed down. So like you're missing generations at a 7-year clip from a company now. Maybe it needs to be a 10-year clip, and it doesn't really matter because you're going to release the one game on the system and press on. I think that's a problem. I've said that a lot. I think that you really want something closer to the PlayStation 2 where you're releasing things at a more frequent cadence. But I can't stop these developers from getting down and photogramming the freaking nanoparticles of my mug to get it into the game, regardless of whether it adds to the experience at all. So I mean, go nuts, people. But I agree with Dan that you don't have developers getting anywhere near what these boxes should be able to do.
They're not.
So,
but they did that last generation too, though, right? Like that was the whole promise of the Xbox One or the whatever, the One X, where you were like, okay, I'm finally going to get this 4K 60 or 30 frame, or 4K, and we just towards the end of the generation, really, you started seeing these kind of things. And then next thing you know, you're at the Series X and it's like, oh my God, look at Assassin's Creed Valhalla at 60 frames per second. This is insane.
60 is a big deal. Yeah.
It's a huge deal.
But here's the difference between the releases of these new consoles and last time. Last time we got mobile processors in the Xbox One and PS4. Whereas this time, apparently, like they worked hand in hand with AMD, both of them. And I don't know if I'm wrong or not, but when these consoles released, this was the first time that we had updated tech, like new tech in these consoles, like in a couple of generations now. We have the mighty Cell processor
from PlayStation 3.
That's the thing that was updated and it shot them in the foot. But
that was new.
You're right.
It was new.
first time since 360 and PS3. 360 used IBM architecture. So it's the first time since then. And you're right. And again, I did talk about this in the video more. There's software which goes into extending the life of and the power, if you will, on screen.
Yeah.
Like FSR, like DLSS, etc., and some of the PC hardware as well. But I still think, despite those improvements in engines and software, which can gain efficiencies not only for developers but for hardware, I still think that because of the curve at which technological advancements are happening on the oh man, my brain. I'm sorry, I'm tired, guys. On the actual socks, the chips themselves, the curve of that, I still think the whole like 7-year gen is too long.
Yeah, it could be, but here's the thing too. Right now, we're at a point where we're not really too far behind. This is the first time I remember in a long time where the current consoles we're playing on right now are not going to give you. There's no chasm between your experience on a high-end PC and what we have right now. And this is no offense to any of the PC people. I'm just saying the CPU is there, the GPU is there, the SSD is there on both of them, right? And like you guys have said, we have not seen what these both of these consoles are fully capable of yet. So we're probably not going to see it for another 2 or 3 years. If you remember, like the PS3, for instance, like you were just talking about the cell architecture. Initially, games were coming out and they were like, okay, the 360 was outdoing it until the developers figured out how to use it. Then we had Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3 and God of War 3, right? And then we started seeing what this console was capable of towards the end of its cycle. Now, granted, I don't know if we're going to have the same experience with these, because even in a year or two, this is not going to be outdated technology. Ains, I'm with you about the curve and whatever. You're absolutely right. Things are always advancing. They're always advancing fast, but I don't get the sense from this current tech that we have in these consoles that they're going to be outdated in a couple of years. I mean, us, man. I don't care if something new comes out. Of course, I'm going to get it. I mean, we're suckers for that shit. I mean, of course, we're going to upgrade, but I don't know if our experience in a couple of years on these consoles, assuming that they've maxed out what they're able to, is going to give us that much of a, is going to, like, we're not going to look at our experience and say, damn, like this looks old compared to what's out there. By that time, I don't know what GPUs, the 5080 or the 6080, or I don't know where the hell they are right now with their current naming scheme, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's
so that's where I generally agree with you, and God of War Ragnarok and Modern Warfare 2 are both cross-gen releases again, right? The
God
first
of War
time
feels like a launch game. I mean, like,
yeah.
I know we're years from launch, but it feels like that.
I expect the same fidelity for the most part. Don't take this the wrong way, internet. I for the most part of God of War 2018 with the PS5 upgrade, right? I expect that similar fidelity. Next year, when we get on the Xbox side anyway, we get Forza, we get Starfield, and we get, what am I forgetting? Redfall are all new gen only. And they've been designed that way from the start. They weren't like working on both and then they canceled the old ones, right? They've been designed that way. So that's 2.5 years into the generation. We're going to get games that have technically been designed for this new gen. Now, whether or not they reach kind of limits of it, doubtful.
I was gonna say, we've seen Starfield though, right?
Yeah,
I mean, like, lower your expectations.
Yeah, I generally agree with you that I think what you're saying, Mo, in the shortest possible way, is the gap between Pinnacle now and the consoles now is narrower than it has been last gen, which is fair. It's definitely fair. What we'll see, we'll know the answer to this conversation. And Pampa, man, you set off a conversation here.
Yeah, he did.
We'll know the answer to this better at the end of the year, because AMD with their Zen 3 and Zen 3 CPUs, RDNA 3 GPUs, and then NVIDIA with their 4000 cards, we'll know all the details of those by the end of the year. So depending on what that gap looks like, it'll give us a preview to the next 3 to 4 years of tech.
Also, the whole cross-gen thing is obviously, money purposes. You guys know that, economically it makes sense for these companies to market it. But look at Horizon Forbidden West, man. I say what you will about the game itself. You know, I mean, I'm just saying, like, from a visual perspective, it's one of the best looking games ever made, you know, and that's, and I'm talking obviously even on the even the PS4 end looks fantastic, you know. So, I mean, there was a good upgrade for the PS5. It definitely was not a, you know, a lazy enhancement, as a, you know, if I want to say. I think we'll expect probably the same from God of War, and then next year and going forward, I think we'll really start to see these machines flexing their power, man. It's I'm looking forward to that. I want that.
There's been a few comments too. Well, there's been a lot of comments. So joked earlier. Mav pointed out that, you know, with compatibility being less of an issue, right? Each generation not having this walled garden like we were used to and we grew up with, that makes it a little easier for incremental upgrades too. Like
yeah, Xbox doesn't care, right?
Yes,
Xbox
exactly.
is just going to say on the list this doesn't support the one, but like that's all it's going to be an iPhone.
Yep. And you joked about scanning your mug. Nick Metal X says Hellblade 2 has been stuck scanning Iceland for years now. That's awesome. Great comment.
But it's like it might not be necessary for everything. This is what I'm saying. It's like I'm enjoying the crap out of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It is running on a cell phone processor from 2010. Okay, so I mean we can work around this, folks, with good art and good development. And I think that the most important thing that's going to happen with respect to generational change is the market. I know I don't need to tell that to Ains, but like we don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 years, and both Sony and Microsoft will follow along with what they can sell. And so we'll see what that is. But you know, we're in a very interesting place, just overall, like as a globe.
Yeah, very. Someone mentioned 4K 120, which obviously you can do on PC if your hardware's strong enough.
How many TVs are 120 supporting, though? I mean, like, we have to talk about reasonability here.
Of course. Yeah, and I always remind people, I get on this high horse all the time, or soapbox is a better word. But people always say on PC, and I always like to remind people the average PC player, and you know this from Steam data, is below current consoles. Right? They're sure you can buy your 3090 Ti and you know go crazy, of course, which is awesome. But your average PC player is not there, right? However, one of the other things I talk about is DisplayPort technology 2.0 is kind of finalized and approved now, and that supports, which is going to, you know, it's kind of funny to start talking about, but it supports 8K at 60 and 4K at 240. So as we joke, it feels like 4K is the standard now, which, you know, it's becoming, right? 1080p to 4K. And we joke, 8K, that's way out there. 8K is coming. It's coming.
It's so many.
So many Ks.
But yeah, those aren't linear, people. I mean, like you're asking for your boxes to do just ridiculous things at 8K. That's one of the reasons I really like what Sony announced when they said they were supporting 1440p in their newest update. Yes. It's like people with monitors, like that's going to be a big win for them.
Big time.
Like that's a nice resolution to play games at, and you can get better performance out of it.
Yeah, 1440 is that's what I play on my PC.
That's what I play on my PC.
Yeah, it's great. The other thing to keep in mind here, right, too, is that, this goes back to DLSS and FSR, is that you don't have to, we're gaining efficiencies where you don't have to process a 4K image, right? To display a 4K image, and technology and AI are helping with that. So I'm constantly
messing with FSR on my Steam Deck. I'm constantly being like, what can you do? It's like, it's pretty impressive. It's a little bit, it's a magic button for some games, it's a magic button.
Yeah. And FSR is the lesser of the technologies. DLSS.
I don't have a DLSS button.
I know. I'm just saying. So, you know, there's other things coming too. Like I said, there's a lot of details to this conversation. But one more quick super chat, which is long ago now. But this is when Mo and Hogue were joking about. I forget what the topic was now. What were you guys joking about?
We just fight. It was whether or not there were any good releases from Sony this year.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I will never match that, man, but thank you. I've seen some of their battles, bro. No way. This was tame. Very, very tame compared to that.
Bad Boy Wars, 5 pounds. Fatality. Better entertainment than Hogue versus Travis.
I'm gonna show Travis that one.
Send that to him.
Travis is gonna tell you, get me a link in here now.
Boy, hard. Thank you everyone for the
Travis mobile phone StreamYards in.
Oh
yeah.
Windswept hair, no tie. We won't even recognize him.
Thank you guys for the super chats. We got off on a tangent there, but just a couple quick things to mention here. So PSVR2, we kind of already touched on this by accident. Is that PlayStation gave us a little more on this this week, as Hogue pointed out. They showed the see-through mode and they showed the boundaries mode, very Quest-like. I mean, almost identical to what you would see on a Quest, which is a good thing, as Hogue said.
For the record, I'm not objecting to that. Don't reinvent wheels. Quest solved some stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So this is, if you're not familiar with VR, these are good features. They also pointed out, as they like to do, because quite frankly they should be, is that it's much more advanced in terms of image quality. So they're talking about VR game content in a 360 view at 4000 by 2040 HDR video format at a 90 and 120 hertz frame rate, which is, it's good for
what that VR. Wire is for. If you're gonna have the wire, you better be selling me some visual quality.
Yeah, because you're using the PS5's power. I mean, that's why you're doing that, right?
That's what also raises the price question, right? PS5 is an entry point into the PSVR2. What do you sell? What is your plan, Sony? I can pretty much guarantee whatever their plan was, it just went up by $100. So thanks, Doug. Yeah, that's the question that's on everybody's mind. And I think they end the blog post by saying, we promise we'll tell you when we're releasing this thing and how much it's going to cost you very soon.
That's the only other thing. They said launch details and new game announcements coming soon. Yeah, so I think I don't know what you guys think. I said previously, and you're right, the funny conversation that happened this week, who knows if that alters it, but what I said previously was $299 for an entry unit and then $399 for a bundle with who knows what, 2 games or what have you. And that's my guess. Yeah. No camera, right?
It doesn't use a camera. It's a Quest. I mean, it's a Quest with a wire.
Oh, is it? No. Okay, fantastic.
I bought a camera at launch. I'm the sucker.
The thing is a Quest. Like they went and said what works with a Quest, and then like the controllers are the same, the front-facing cameras are the same. It's a Quest with a wire for power.
More powerful, yeah. Yep.
Okay. I got it.
Yeah, I'm thinking $299 and then for entry, just the unit, and then $399 with a bundle of some sort. That's my guess.
Well, I mean, I know that Travis would say this if he were here, but he would say they better goddamn have Half-Life Alex. They better go get Alex.
Yeah, you did good representing for him there. Yep.
Travis would mention that.
Yep.
He always likes to mention that he's one of the few in society that has played Alex and it changed his life and it cured cancer. And so he would mention that they better have Half-Life Alex. So we'll see. I'm positive they would have approached Gabe, but who knows?
Yeah, I know. RJH says I'm dreaming. $299 just for the year. I know. That's very aggressive. I'm. It's just a thought, and the reason why is because you're talking about an entry point. You can't just buy the unit, right? You need that PS5. And so if you're going to get people interested in VR, in the investment they're making into VR, their new studios for VR, and you want people to buy PS5s to play your VR, you can't have a PS5 that is $500 and a VR unit that's $500. You can.
I think it's $5. I don't think they split the SKU. I think they toss in a game that their internal studios made, or a disc, whatever. The same thing as their virtual worlds kind of thing. I think it's $500 comes with a disc. That's what I would say.
Okay.
Because that's their high end. That's the high end Quest after Meta gets done screwing up its company, right? So I think it's $5. I think it would have been $4.
Okay. All right.
There's no reason for Sony to undercut the Quest.
No. All right. Mo, I see we had one quick more topic. Mo, you got to cut out?
Yeah, unfortunately, man. I'm sorry, guys. I appreciate it. I wanted to be here for the end of it, but my kids are driving my wife nuts, and I won't hear the end of it today. So I'm gonna have to bow out. Thank you so much for having me on. I always appreciate
where they can find you, Mo, before we go.
Just on Twitter right now. We're on a hiatus with the podcast, so you can find me at Docta_Moe, where I'll just be talking about weird different stuff and my degeneracy, and talk to you there. And guys, I appreciate you. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate it. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Cheers,
Thank
man.
you,
Talk to you later.
All right, guys. Have a good night or day. Goddamn.
Whatever.
Bye.
I do this, and we will.
I sit unopposed.
There you go.
Wait, put the verses up real quick.
Yeah, I think it would cover his face. Actually, let's see.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
I could do it Gollum style.
You can actually versus yourself that
would be amazing.
Yeah, you could take.
That's
both
what they
sides.
taught us in law school.
Just go on this side, take your glasses off, and you go on the other side.
Oh yeah, okay, all right, that's right.
You look lost, man.
All right. The only other thing we were going to mention this week is Knights of the Old Republic remake. A report came out about this, which was not pleasant. Basically saying that this game, if you remember, this was announced at Game Awards for PS5 by Asper Studio. It is on indefinite hold from what we've learned. This stems from major staff departures at the developer, and specifically both the art director and the game's design director.
The creative director, right? I mean, like,
kind of important, have left the company, or excuse me, unexpectedly let go from the company.
Yeah, fired.
Fired is what they meant to say, yes. So the developers themselves, this is not a quote from the company, have said it might possibly, quote, come out in 2025. So long story short, don't look forward to this game anytime soon.
This has about as much chance of coming out as Beyond Good and Evil 2. So put that in the Beyond Good and Evil 2 bucket, and who knows, maybe we'll get them both. But yes, we didn't even get any Cool Monkey videos out of this one.
No. In fact, funny enough, I saw someone, you might know, Hogue, someone who has some type of information said that Beyond Good and Evil 2 is definitely further along than this game.
I haven't seen that quote.
Yeah, who it was. Someone actually.
You would hope that it had to be, because Beyond Good and Evil 2 ostensibly went into development a long time ago. Versus this was essentially Aspire, which is not known for remastering, not known for rebooting, not known for like making their own games. I think they're a porting studio, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So it was always a weird announcement. You always wonder whether this was a lowest bidder kind of situation. And then like the other things that came out were like, this was when they were presenting their vertical slice, and like either they just failed to produce it and like just went and hid in a corner, or they produced it and the licensors were unhappy. Like it gets a little bit unclear there. But like anybody that knows this, if you're dealing with another party's intellectual property, like Disney, they get to see how you're doing it and then comment on your process. And so if a vertical slice was presented to them and then basically every lead at the studio was fired, that is what we call a poor result from your showing of the game.
Swing and a miss.
Yeah,
but it's also possible that they were unhappy with the progress and they couldn't even show a vertical slice. They weren't going to hit their milestones and they get fired at that point. It gets muddy as to where that story goes from there. I don't want to see anybody fired. I don't want to see anybody get, lose their jobs over this kind of stuff, but it was always a really weird announcement to me. They just did that kind of shadow teaser thing with Revan. And it's like, this is going to be a ground up remake. It's like, what are we talking about here? And I think the answer is we will never know. I think this one probably
scale boundish.
It feels that's a good one. Yeah. Although Scalebound, we saw gameplay.
We did.
I don't think we will ever see an iota of this. I think that Aspire probably bit off more than it could chew. And they don't have the horses to run this race, especially with whoever they fired now being gone. So I would expect it to potentially be moved over to a different studio. I mean, you have this with like Final Fantasy VII Remake was originally going to be done by C2. Square pulls it back in-house.
Yeah.
It is possible. The problem is Disney doesn't have an in-house anymore. So they'd have to move it over to a different studio entirely. And I bet Aspire bid on a sweetheart deal. And probably those conversations where if you actually want this done, we need 300 more people. And it's actually going to be 4 times as much in the first quarter of what we actually budgeted for the whole project.
Sorry, Rick, to interrupt you, but to that point, from what we understand, and this came out this week, I don't know if this is not true. Please tell me. Yeah. But I saw a lot of people commenting that Microsoft / Xbox, of course, looked at this and walked away from it.
No doubt.
They were not interested. So that wouldn't surprise me given what we've now learned.
Yeah.
Well, they spent like biggest portion of their budget on that trailer. Like a large chunk of the money that they had went into that CGI.
On the Revan walks out of the shadows trailer?
Dun, 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 the guy beating on the drums
can't
or whatever.
Be true. That's got to be a fake rumor.
No, that was a different one. No. I did see that when I saw this come up. That's what I saw. It was a news article. It said something. I mean, I couldn't be specific. I'll look.
Was it on Kotaku by chance?
Absolutely not, because I have them blocked. So could not be Kotaku.
It's sad though. Knights of the Old Republic is one of the great games in video game history.
Yes,
and seemingly everything that touches Star Wars, especially since I'm unopposed right now, has gone to shit. So I'm going to take my liberties here in this configuration. It's sad to see that continue with Disney making every wrong choice in the book.
Yeah. So we'll see what comes of this. Nick Metal X, by the way, said he started a couple months ago on iPad. He said the old game, yes, story seems interesting. The story is excellent. It gets very
story
good.
Is excellent.
It gets very, very good. That's why people love it so much. Really, I mean, it isn't
the.
Go ahead.
Combat.
No, I was gonna say it was a great game at the time. It's dated in a lot of ways nowadays because I've played it recently too, and it is one of those free upgrades on Series X, like it's up-resed and frame rate, but a lot of it is dated. But the story is still very good.
It looks old.
Yeah. All right, a couple super chats to grab real quick.
Yes, Gio Rio, €5 with PS5 getting 1440p. Will they also go for widescreen like they will do for their PC ports?
Seems like a possibility.
Like ultra wide?
Yeah, I would assume that. I haven't looked at it or used it, but I would assume if you're doing 1440p, it's typically monitors. You're not using that resolution on your home TV typically. So yeah, I would assume ultra wide support as well, which is what you're talking about, 3440 by 1400, I believe. Yeah, so I don't know if anyone in the chat knows definitively. Please let me know. I haven't beta tested it, but I would assume so. Cool.
Here's that thing real quick. Well, the reason for Prince and Minor, this is the two guys for KOTOR, were not confirmed. The source told Bloomberg that the amount of time and money spent to create the demo was disproportionate to.
The demo.
The demo is the vertical slice.
Demo,
yeah, that's part of that story.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
I thought it was the trailer for some reason.
Right. Well, and again, I'm positing that what they actually bid and what they were projecting, they say disproportionate, it's because this thing was coming in a lot more expensive than they had told Disney.
Yes.
Yeah. When they got the money, throw it at them. Come on, let's do
Disney
this.
Disney is quickly not having them. Disney's going through a moment as well. So, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I'm sure it was outsourced to a bidder, and you pick Aspire, and they thought they could do it, and they couldn't. I mean, like, that happens outside of video games every day of my life.
Yeah, I think I said Asper earlier, so Aspire. Thank you guys. Gecko Gamer with a late super chat as well.
Yeah, the €5. Thank you, Gecko. Again, I want to be a fly on the wall at Aspire when they showed that game at Disney.
We're
still not sure from the story about whether they actually ever presented. They might have just bowed out and died. I mean, like that. It's not ready. We're over budget, and we're firing everybody involved. and Disney and Lucasfilm go, all right. I mean, that ain't great.
These are some of those stories that I love, like 10, 15 years later when people are ready to talk about it, and you read it and you go, God, I remember that. I can't believe that's what actually happened. These are the stories I love to read in a short documentary on NoClip or something, or watch, I should say. But yeah, I don't think, to Rick's point, that we're going to know the full details of what went on here anytime soon.
No, I tweeted out, I originally thought it was a bad presentation as well. And then I looked at the articles like, well, we don't know that they actually presented. So I don't know that it's Disney as much as it could be Aspire, just, killing themselves and saying, sorry, licensors.
Yeah. Anyway, that chat, you've been great today, man. Lots of conversation, lots of fun super chats and side conversation. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and wrap up for this week of episode 213. So, Rick, why don't you shout out what you got going on, man?
Sure. What don't I have going on? We did 11 videos last week, I believe, in Virtual Legality. We like content. We like to work. We'll be doing a headlines episode tomorrow. I already know the subject is going to be on the Bridgerton musical folks getting sued, crossing the line from fan creation that Netflix actually promoted over to a place where Netflix got unhappy with it. So we'll talk a little bit about fan games and things like that. Hangouts and Headlines is designed to be a very chill experience. We like to be positive and relaxed going into a work day. So come visit us over there at Virtual Legality. We do it 4 times a week, every day but Wednesday. And we have a lot of fun doing that. In Virtual Legality, I have to look at my bookmarks, things that I've saved under my Virtual Legality ideas. But I can tell you we have a lot of them ready to go for videos. And I think it will be another big week of fun Virtual Legality-esque news. And pretty sure Lawyers and Dragons Season 1 is starting very, very soon. So keep your eyes on that space. We're just about set up with a campaign season with special guests and things that I have to arrange and all sorts of stuff that I'm doing behind the scenes there. But yes, the channel is going to have some very fun stuff in the very near future. And we got other stuff under development as well. So check it out at Hogue Law on YouTube or at Hogue Law on Twitter if you just want to see me rant about random things.
Awesome. A couple quick questions. Ryba says, deluxe version of Elden Ring worth getting. And I type back only if you really like the little collectibles. Same game. You're not getting anything different in the game. And by the way, someone just asked, where is Lawyers and Dragons and Nick Metal X? There you go. So
Lawyers and Dragons is returning sooner than you think. And my God, I would give you a date if I had one last piece done, but it is one last piece.
Lawyers and Dragons coming to you soon from Aspire Media.
Yeah. On Tuesday.
Lawyers and Dragons is above budget, people. We have to cancel the whole project.
All right, over on Season Gaming, like I said, we crossed 13,000 subs. Thank you so much. We've got a big video coming for early access patrons tomorrow. It's going to be like a 15-minute long video on kind of what the what's coming in gaming in the next few years and what you can expect to see from a technology perspective. So we touched on some of that today inadvertently, but put that together over the past week, and I'm excited to get that one out. Joe, Luke, and I did another cast co-op this past week. That's up on the channel if you want to check that out. We talked about our top Xbox studios. We did PlayStation in the prior episode, did Xbox this week, and had a good conversation about that. And then keep your eyes peeled to Season Gaming, both the Bitcast Twitter account and the Season Gaming Twitter account. Going to be doing a giveaway this week just to kind of pay back to the fans. So usually do something like digital credit on your platform of choice, including Steam. So keep an eye for that. I'm trying to get, continue to try to get some new folks putting some eyes on us. So, and I think there were several of you
your eyes
or more that actually responded to Cliff Blazinski. He was asking about gaming podcasts, and a bunch of people responded and said Bitcast. So thank you guys for that, and love to see that stuff. Appreciate you.
Hey, Cliffy B, if you're watching, we got to talk about Lawbreakers sometimes. I have questions.
And he just stopped watching. Just unsubscribed.
That's a perfect example of what I said 5 minutes ago about stories you'll get years down the line. We'll hear everything about that. Yeah, that's another one. But guys, chat, you've been awesome. Audio listeners, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And as always, thank you for tuning in to Bitcast, your weekly gaming show covering all things Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, and PC with industry, technical, and legal insight. And we will see you back with the full crew next week. Until then.